To the annual Broward MPO Board Engagement Forum for 2021. My name is Brian Koletka, and I am the Director of Transportation Policy, and I will be your MC for today. For those of you who attended our workshop in November, you are all placed as attendee mode. If you need something, you may raise your virtual hand. That doesn't mean go like this, because when you go like this, we probably won't be able to see you. It's a virtual hand at the bottom of your screen. And at the end of this forum, we have a meet and greet for our new board members. It's also for our seasoned board members to get to know their new colleagues that are incoming. We have an unprecedented new 8 members as of November of last year. So we'll get to meet your new colleagues and learn a little bit about them. This workshop has been noticed for sunshine purposes, and it's being recorded, and there will be minutes provided as well. So with that, the very first thing that we have is a short video introducing our Broward MPO staff.
Welcome to the Broward Metropolitan Planning Organization, where our goal is to move people and goods, create jobs, and strengthen communities. Let's take a moment to meet the Broward MPO team and learn more about what they do. The Executive Management Team is responsible for all operations of the Broward MPO. Gregory Stewart is the Executive Director and is responsible for all functions under the direction of the Board of Directors and leads the Executive Management Team. Alan Gabriel serves as General Counsel for the Broward MPO. Michael Ronskowitz, the MPO's Chief of Staff, is responsible for leading all internal operations, including the development and management of the budget. Finally, Brian Koletka, the MPO's Director of Transportation Policy, acts as a liaison to the MPO board, manages surtax services, and also assists with federal and state policy goals. The Broward MPO's Planning and Programming Team is responsible for developing the MPO's core planning products, including the Metropolitan Transportation Plan, or MTP, and Transportation Improvement Program, or TIP. This team also provides planning assistance to our member governments through the MPO City Services effort. William Cross is the MPO's Deputy Executive Director for Planning and Programming and leads the team of planners that develop the MPO's core planning products in addition to the City Services staff. Andrew Riddle is the MPO's City Services Manager. Andrew is responsible for leading the MPO's City Services team, providing planning assistance to the MPO's member governments. Peter Gies is the Systems Planning Manager for the Broward MPO. Peter oversees the long-range planning, MTP, and short-range planning, TIP products at the MPO, including data analysis and performance measurement. Juan Cañas is the Data Services Associate Planner at the Broward MPO. Juan is responsible for the organization's IT services and the MPO's Geographic Information System platform. Mark Brown is a Senior City Planner with the MPO. Mark provides technical transportation planning services to municipalities in Broward County. Carrie McNeil is a Senior City Planner with the MPO. Carrie is a project manager on the City Services team and works on the MPO's Planning Technical Assistance Program, or PTAP. Christopher Restrepo is a principal planner at the MPO. Christopher supports the development of the Metropolitan Transportation Plan, Multimodal Priorities List, and the Transportation Improvement Program. Shihong Chen is a project programming manager at the Broward MPO. Shihong leads the development of the Multimodal Transportation Priorities List and Transportation Improvement Program. Darcy Mayer is a Senior City Planner with the MPO. Darcy provides technical transportation planning services to municipalities in Broward County. Levi Stuart Figueroa is a Senior City Planner with the MPO. Levi provides technical transportation planning services to municipalities in Broward County and assists MPO efforts related to resiliency and sustainability. Paul Flavian is the MPO's Data Services Manager. Paul's responsibilities include data services, long-range transportation planning, regional transportation planning, travel demand modeling, and freight planning. Roger Miranda is a GIS data planner at the MPO. Roger analyzes and manages GIS data and creates interactive and static maps for the organization. The finance and administration team at the Broward MPO is responsible for the administrative functions of the MPO's financial operations and human resources. Belita Williams is the MPO's Chief Finance Officer and oversees the MPO's financial operations and is responsible for human resources. Tracy Flavian is the MPO's Budget and Grants Director and directs all the finance, budgeting, and purchasing for the organization. Chanel Williams is the Accounting Manager and manages the Finance and Human Resources team. Lydia Waring is the MPO's Purchasing and Procurement Manager and is responsible for overseeing the purchasing and procurement process to ensure that acquisition of goods and services are consistent with the Broward MPO's policies. Derek Brown is the MPO's staff accountant and processes accounts payables, accounts receivables, and assists in monthly, quarterly, and annually closing processes. The Broward MPO's Intergovernmental and Outreach team is responsible for coordinating and implementing public and intergovernmental outreach strategies, plans, and initiatives. Carol Henderson is the Deputy Executive Director of Intergovernmental and Outreach. Carol manages public and intergovernmental outreach strategies, plans, and initiatives to meet the agency's local, state, and federal requirements, goals, and objectives. Erica Lychak is the MPO's Communications and Outreach Senior Manager and Title VI Coordinator. Erica manages the Communications and Outreach team and serves as a Title VI and Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Coordinator for the agency. Carl Ema is the Administrative Services Manager at the MPO. Carl oversees administrative functions including board and committee coordination, Unified Planning Work Program and Business Plan, while maintaining compliance with state and federal certification requirements. Paul Calvarisi is the Intergovernmental Manager for the MPO. Paul is responsible for monitoring, creating, and informing the board, partners, and the public about transportation policies through data-driven processes to advance the organization's goals. Anthea Thomas is the Public Outreach Manager at the Broward MPO. Anthea is responsible for public involvement, community outreach, social media, and agency event coordination. Hannah Bourgeois is a Public Outreach Officer at the Broward MPO. Hannah coordinates the public outreach strategy for the organization in coordination with other teams and manages the website and social media platforms. Carlos Astaiza is the MPO's graphic designer and is responsible for the overall visual aspects of outreach and media campaigns, translating the Broward MPO's needs and branding strategies from concepts to production. Kyra Everett is a communications principal coordinator at the Broward MPO. Kyra produces essential written materials about transportation projects, plans, and programs as they relate to the agency for distribution to the public. David Clark is the executive assistant at the Broward MPO. David is responsible for directly assisting the executive director and records retention. Marcus Richards II is an intergovernmental coordinator for the MPO. Marcus coordinates with project managers to assist with planning projects at the state, local, and regional level. Monica Diaz is an administrative assistant at the MPO. Monica provides administrative support for all MPO staff. She also provides frontline assistance and information to visitors and guests regarding MPO programs and projects to the general public and other governmental agencies. Rebecca Schultz is the board's coordinator for the MPO. Rebecca is responsible for the oversight of planning, preparation, and execution of MPO board, advisory committees, and other meetings as required. The Broward MPO's Mobility Initiatives team is responsible for preparing projects for programming and funding, in addition to facilitating and coordinating the implementation of those projects. James Cromar, the Deputy Executive Director for Mobility Initiatives, oversees the teams responsible for the Broward MPO's Mobility Hub program, Complete Streets Master Plan, or CSMP, Complete Streets and Other Localized Initiatives program, or CSLIP, and the MPO's congestion management process. Renee Cross is the MPO's Grants Program Manager. Renee is responsible for administering the Federal Transit Administration grant program and reporting process, in addition to the MPO's Mobility Hub program and congestion management process. Ricardo Gutierrez is the Mobility Program Manager for the Broward MPO. Ricardo is responsible for managing the Broward MPO's Mobility Program team and the Complete Streets Initiative. Chadwick Blue is a Project Coordination Manager with the Broward MPO. Chadwick is the project manager for the MPO's Mobility Hub projects and manages Federal Transit Administration grants in the Transit Award Management System. Charlene Burke is a principal planner at the Broward MPO and administers the Federal Transit Administration's Transit Award Management System to ensure compliance, and also provides assistance in coordination with Seminole and Miccosukee tribes of Florida. Stephanie Garcia is the Complete Streets Manager at the Broward MPO. Stephanie works on the Complete Streets Initiative with emphasis on community engagement events such as walking audits and tactical urbanism. Amanda Kristen is a project manager with the Broward MPO. Amanda manages planning and policy projects that advance the vision and mission of the Complete Streets Initiative. Buffy Sanders is a principal planner with the Broward MPO. Buffy handles traffic counts, right-of-way vacation reviews, and coordination for the Tiger Grand Complete Streets projects. Connor Campobasso is the Complete Streets and Other Localized Initiatives Program Manager. Connor manages the planning, coordination, and implementation of local projects submitted through the MPO's Complete Streets and Other Localized Initiatives program. Fazil Qureshi is the Transportation Project Manager at the Broward MPO. Fazil assists with engineering support for planning and implementing Complete Streets projects throughout the county. We look forward to serving you and helping the Broward region move people and goods, create jobs, and strengthen communities.
Okay, so that is our staff currently at the MPO. And now, for your benefit, we are going to show a short video of our board of directors. So you'll see some familiar faces, and you're also going to see some new faces. So there you have, there might be some new faces, but sometimes they're not so new just because they've been on Florida League of Cities or something of that nature. And now they're new to the MPO, but not new to Broward County. And I welcome you all. This is just a reminder, if you are a board member, you are just a participant right now and you're in listen mode only, so attendee only. So if you do have a concern, you can raise your virtual hand as one member's already done, and we will work with you to address any concern that you might have, or if you have a question. So here at the MPO, we have been trying to compile a list of birthdays, just in case we have an occasion to recognize, such as this. With our whole staff, we would like to at this time wish happy birthday to Vice Mayor Williams. So we know your birthday's around the corner, I believe this Saturday, and so happy birthday. Here's some of the events around the MPO and some pictures of you. We definitely appreciate you, Vice Mayor, and thanks for joining us today.
Happy birthday.
Yes, happy birthday, and many healthy and happy more. So next, we have a presentation on the Fort Lauderdale TMA by Mrs. Shirelli. If you have any questions at the end, you can just raise your virtual hand and she will stick around to answer any questions that you might have. Mrs. Shirelli, welcome.
Good morning, Brian. Thank you very much for the introduction, and thank you very much for having me, Executive Director Stewart, Broward MPO board and staff. It was great to see those videos. I saw a lot of familiar faces and friends that I've worked with over the years with our partnership with the Broward MPO. So it really warms my heart to see so many familiar faces and such dedicated service over many, many years. My name is Robin Chiarelli, and I'm the Executive Director of the Downtown Fort Lauderdale Transportation Management Association. If I could please ask Rebecca to move to the next slide, please. Thank you. So we are a nonprofit organization that was incorporated in 1992. During this presentation, you will get an introduction of our agency and our role in the community. You'll learn about our history and some recent changes, be introduced to our 2021 strategic plan, as well as how we can continue to partner with Broward MPO to bolster both of our goals. Next slide, please. So what is TDM? Most of the folks on this call, I believe, are well familiar with the transportation industry and its many acronyms. Here are a few more acronyms to add to your acronym arsenal in case you didn't know these two. The first is TDM, which stands for Transportation Demand Management. What that is a toolbox of methods used to increase roadway capacity. And we're not talking about increasing roadway capacity by using a shovel and applying some asphalt. It's changing people's behavior and preventing roadway usage in the first place. The next acronym is TMA. That stands for Transportation Management Association. TMAs are organizations that deliver TDM methods. And the Downtown Fort Lauderdale TMA is one such organization. It's a 501c3 nonprofit with an executive director, that's me, as well as a board of directors with a roster of 15 board seats. We've had a longstanding partnership with the Broward MPO as one of our major stakeholders, evidenced by the fact that your very own executive director, Greg Stewart, serves in one of these 15 board seats in the role of board chair. And it's important to note that both TDM and TMAs are recognized in the Florida Public Transit Act as important components to moving people. Next slide, please. Since our inception, our goal has been to reduce traffic in the downtown core of Fort Lauderdale. And there are a number of ways that that could be done. You could either promote alternative modes to commuters. We could advocate for more accessible bicycle facilities or provide incentives to employees who are sharing the ride, just to name a few examples. Our organization has primarily focused its efforts on one main TDM tool, which is delivery of transit. And we started transit service in the early 1990s, first with the T-Max and City Cruiser. And more recently, some of you might be familiar with the red and yellow Sun trolleys, as well as the Riverwalk water trolley. To boost those efforts, we started a robust private charter service, as well as a sponsorship program. And over the last 5 years, we successfully moved over 2 million people and raised almost $1.6 million in private funding. Not bad for a small profit. Next slide, please. Despite all this success, with changing conditions in 2020, the TMA was challenged to contemplate its scope and our future direction. And through that process, our executive board of directors resolved that despite the fact we would no longer deliver transit, at least for the time being, the TMA should remain part of the evolution of transportation in Broward County. And to that end, we retooled our mission and vision. So with that, I'd like to share with you our new mission and vision, with our new mission being to establish partnerships, to improve transportation options through advocacy, programs, education, and services, with the ultimate vision being to improve mobility in Broward County. As 2020 has challenged everyone to adapt to new realities, our organization, we're shifting our role from delivery of transit to mobility management, and as well as expanding our geographical focus from the downtown core of Fort Lauderdale to greater Fort Lauderdale. Next slide, please. So with that said, just like a sabbatical that a university professor might take to step away and take some time for introspection, the TMA's 2021 strategic plan represents a period of study where we'll be learning the transportation challenges of the community and its mobility management needs. We do run on a October through September fiscal year, so our strategic plan is already well underway. You'll see our short-term goals, which we already have under our belt, including transition of transit operations to the city of Fort Lauderdale, and documenting existing TDM efforts here locally as well as across the nation. Our midterm goal, which started last month, includes restructuring our agency to expand its geographical scope, as well as to shift our focus to mobility management. And we will accomplish this by conducting listening sessions to the stakeholders across greater Fort Lauderdale, as well as launch a survey to understand the needs of commuters. The result of those efforts will be a community vision report. And by September 2021, we will deliver that report to the public, translate it into a fiscally constrained implementation plan that will focus on the 4 areas of traffic mitigation, teleworking, mobility for vulnerable communities, and transportation advocacy. Next slide, please. At the end of the fiscal year 2021, we expect our stakeholders to gain insights into what our peers are doing and what the community's needs are. We'll be inventorying the community's needs and teeing ourselves up for execution in 2022. And we don't necessarily want to presuppose any of the results of the community outreach efforts, but it always helps to wrap our heads around some implementation items that might result for kickoff in 2022. And so here are a few examples of implementation items that might result from our community outreach efforts. As an example, we might partner with the local commuter assistance program to expand their reach. We may collaborate the collective voice of private sector as well as public sector to advocate transportation needs to decision-making authorities. We may assist large employers to strike the perfect telework balance through a series of webinars in concert with HR experts in the field. We may assist with the negotiation and formulating of trip reduction agreements. We might represent the transit needs of an underserved community, or we might carry out pilot projects to better understand emerging technologies and methodologies. Next slide, please. As mentioned earlier in the presentation, we've had a partnership with Broward MPO for decades. And in this transition year, it's more important than ever to leverage our partnership and bolster each other's organizations. Here you see some examples of ways we can do that. And I see this as just the tip of the iceberg. You know, the opportunities are really endless and the sky is the limit on how we can collaborate with each other and bolster each other's goals. So whether it's testing new innovations or better understanding our environmental footprint, collaborating on transit projects, expanding our mutual outreach efforts, or maximizing funding opportunities, the end result will be to reinforce staff skill sets, as well as help each other achieve a more measurable impact in Broward County. Next slide, please. To that end, we'd like to formalize our partnership with the MPO through a partnership agreement that spells out our collective goals and how each party could come to the table to achieve them. Here's a timeline of potential next steps. The first milestone took place in mid-December. That was for the TMA to approve its new strategic plan with, by the way, with the help of some very talented and dedicated Broward MPO staff. Next in the process is today, where I hope I've successfully delivered an introductory presentation during your board retreat. And then later on this month, we anticipate both entities to have a draft partnership agreement in front of them for consideration, comments, and potential formal partnership commencing in May, along with checkpoints along the way. Final slide, please. So during this presentation, you learned about the changing role of the downtown Fort Lauderdale TMA, our goals for fiscal year 21, as well as our continuing partnership with Broward MPO. At this time, I'd be delighted to entertain any comments or questions that may arise. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chiarelli. I appreciate your presentation. And at this time, if you have a question, you can raise your virtual hand and you will be recognized. Okay. Board Member Karn, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Kalek, and good morning to everyone. Thank you, Ms. Say your last name for me, please. Chiarelli?
Just call me late for dinner, that's all I ask.
Chiarelli?
Chiarelli.
Chiarelli.
There's a number of ways to pronounce it.
Thank you, Ms. Chiarelli. And I guess I'm going to ask this question to you and Mr. Stewart, our Executive Director, Michael Karn from City of Oakland Park. I wanted to know, how was the value of this partnership determined? And what is the value of the partnership from your perspective, Mr. Stewart?
Absolutely. Commissioner, it's good morning and Happy New Year to you.
Thank you.
Basically, our partnerships in the past have been some financial support as well as moral support to the downtown Fort Lauderdale TMA. 25 years ago, back when it was originally founded, the MPO, along with Broward County and the city of Fort Lauderdale, were its founding members. A TMA, in this respect, for the Transportation Management Agency, which I'm going to talk about TMAs later in the day, which is actually a whole nother acronym that means something completely different, are strategies that actually are very important to the overall goals of the MPO. And while the TMA in Fort Lauderdale at the time, over the last 20 some odd years, has been pretty much focused on transit management and getting folks the transit provision side of things, things changed over the last year with the passage of the penny sales tax and requirements of the administration of the surtax with local shuttle programs. So this has the opportunity to now take the TMA and bring it back to its original purpose that was actually by the federal government. It was part of our air quality requirements and trying to reduce traffic on our existing roadways. So the whole idea in the world we're currently in, this new normal, where we're telecommuting and working remotely, the TMAs around the nation are all formed together to actually promote that. So we looked at this and thought, okay, here's an opportunity with Renee Cross's group within the MPO to partner further with the TMA, grow its area beyond downtown Fort Lauderdale and the city of Fort Lauderdale, cover our entire region here in the Broward area, and actually start working with our larger corporations on, large and small, to encourage telecommuting, to actually keep our level of service on our roadways at a better rate, because there's only so much asphalt we can pour and only so many concrete piers we can put in to actually do that. So we're looking at it from a staff side of implementing the ability to actually work with our partners and in a way through the 5013C to help build training programs, build programs and processes that are necessary to advance the idea of reducing congestion on our roadway network and promoting alternative forms of transportation. So that's really where we see the partnership and the value of this. And we're hoping that over the next several months, as we bring forward, our agreements in this new and changed TMA, that this is something the board would take advantage of. And we can work with each of your board members' communities, each district, and the businesses and residents in each of the districts to promote new strategies for actually dealing with traffic and hopefully actually continue the reduction that we've seen since the start of the pandemic. I hope I answered your question, Commissioner.
You gave it a good shot. Mr. Kolek, if I could just ask one follow-up.
Yes, sir.
And it's a compound question. Is there another TMA in this area? We have just one TMA in Broward. Well, answer that one first. Do we have just one TMA in Broward County?
Yes.
Okay, so there's one TMA in Broward County. And then I want to get a taste, I guess, or a look. And I saw in Ms. Corelli's presentation that they were in development in the strategic planning process of the toolkit, but I wanted to understand the engagement linkage, how you see this as a benefit to municipalities. We have a lot of paperwork to fill out already. We have a lot of regulation to go through with the FDOT and all. How does this fit in? Does this make our life easier? Is it oh, we're so happy to have this. We've been waiting for this for a long time. Is this that type of situation? Mrs.
I'm not sure what type of paperwork you're talking about. Perhaps.
Hold on. I think Brian.
Director Stewart can help there.
Yeah, I think Brian and I will take a stab at this, and I think that's going to be useful.
It's just ease of use. I just want to know what the ease of use is. This a convenience that you're bringing to us?
So basically, this would be an added benefit as opposed to an added paperwork shuffle. We're not adding more requirements. This is an option that we'd be able to work with you and the city on your employers with, you have some major employers within Oakland Park that we'd be able to work with them, at your discretion to be able to develop transportation demand policies within their organizations to actually reduce traffic on the roads. So it isn't new paperwork, it is just a new educational tool that could potentially benefit our roadway capacity. Brian, do you want to add any more to it?
Well, I think that the outreach component to make lives easier is very valuable for both organizations, because the MPO is charged with programming and project development. But if we don't know what the needs are, we can't do that. And this will help identify those additional needs that might bring either new businesses or new residents into the area and allow us to remain competitive.
And if I can add to that, the city as an employer in some areas happens to be the largest employer in the area. So we would also be able to work with your employees themselves to educate them on different ways to get to work. And I think a lot of people want to take the bus and they want to save money, but they just don't know how to do it. So we would be able to leverage our longstanding partnerships with our transit partners, whether it's BCT or SFRTA Tri-Rail, to help expand the reach of our transit partners and their educational outreach. So employees in the area, whether it's a private company or the municipality's own staff, would learn more about how to save money and easier ways to get to and from work.
Thank you.
Thank you. I do see several hands raised at this time. We will get to everybody's questions, but we go in order that you raised your hand. So the next board member is Sunrise, Mr. Scuoto.
I think, yeah, there you go.
Okay, there we go.
Good morning, and I just want to, this is probably one of my first times getting to speak at the MPO since I am a new member. But what a great presentation, and I say that because Fort Lauderdale, I guess years ago, probably was our biggest city and growing, and a lot of the businesses were in Fort Lauderdale. But as you know, that Sunrise is really blowing up, and we've already put in for a grant for some transportation. So I want to know, what is it that Sunrise could do, either to team up with you, or do we have to do our own transportation management association? Because, I mean, we're working with the property of the arena, how they want to expand that, which would probably be the biggest the development in the county. We have the fourth largest corporate park. We're just working with Amazon right now to build a 3.7 million square foot facility, and the Sawgrass Mall. So we're trying to tie our transportation for everyone in that area. So would it be something that we would work with the MPO and with the Fort Lauderdale TMA, or is it something that Sunrise would try to set up on their own? Because I know with the 1% sales tax, they talk about light rail, connecting a lot of the cities, the airport, the arena, Davie with all the colleges. So, I mean, that could be many, many years down the road, but how could we start it in Sunrise to connect the arena to the mall, to the corporate park, to all the big partners that we have in the city? So just to get some clarity of what Sunrise could be doing, or do we just team up with you guys?
Robin, you want to go?
I'll try to take a stab at that if I may. So my family moved here in 1984, before Sawgrass Expressway was even built. And it's so exciting to hear all of and especially the Amazon component that are expanding the city of Sunrise, so much so that I think you may have just encouraged me to go ahead and move my family over to Sunrise. It really is very exciting. I think that all of the points you raised are exactly why Greg and I have contemplated the positive benefits of working together. So I wouldn't say that it would be, and maybe it doesn't mean that in the future it wouldn't, but as for today, I think that the idea is to leverage economies of scale and have one voice for transportation projects like those that you mentioned throughout the entire county. So as you asked, how can we get started? Great, excellent question. The first step would be for us to, let's get together, whether it's on Zoom or I'm happy to have lunch with my mask on, not a problem. And, let me work with the key members of Sunrise who we could listen to. And that's exactly what our strategic plan will be doing this fiscal year, is having those listening sessions to really understand what the needs are and then translate those into a implementation plan.
Okay.
So I'd like to summarize that with, we're converting the Fort Lauderdale TMA to the greater Fort Lauderdale, which would include all of Broward County. So as soon as we get the partnership agreement and then we change the scope, then they're going to be working for you, and any concerns that you have, you can reach out directly to Robin, Greg, or myself. Do you have any further questions, sir?
No, that was it. Thank you so much.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank you.
So next up, we have Hollywood board member Schultz. Okay, your mic
Thank you
should
so
be
much.
on.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks. And this is my first opportunity to speak. I just wanted to thank you for the excellent presentation, Robin. I have 3 questions. I'm going to ask them all at once so I can listen to your answer. 1, why not call it the Broward TMA? 2, will you be working with Brightline? And 3, in your work, are you considering the impact of COVID and the likely increase of ongoing work from home and the reduction that will take on commuting within the county? Thanks so much.
Fantastic. I'd be happy to answer those. So first of all, I guess they say a rose is still a rose no matter what it's called, right? So, and downtown Fort Lauderdale Transportation Management Association doesn't really roll off the tongue. So as part of our strategic plan this year, we will be rebranding. And whether it's Broward TMA or Move Broward or Go Forward or what have you, we will be rebranding. And if you look at a lot of the TMAs across the nation, they have more sexy, catchy names. Some of them reference the geographical region, some of them don't. So that will be part of our efforts this year. As far as working with Brightline, yes, 100%, absolutely. I know that Brightline is not operating right now, but they will be before we know it. So that's definitely a connection that we will be making. And then finally, the question about COVID is an interesting one. And absolutely, we will be studying the impact that COVID has had, as well as the future anticipated changes. And my thought process, I'm a biology major, so one action has an equal and opposite reaction. And if you look at the real estate market and the people coming down to South Florida in droves, what I see coming, people will still be working from home, but I think traffic is going to become even more of a problem than pre-COVID because of all the people moving down here. So those are we will be studying how COVID has affected and what the anticipated result of COVID will be years down the line so that we can make decisions on best paths to move forward.
Thanks so much.
Thank you for your questions. Next up, we have Tamarack Representative Placco.
Can you all hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Okay. Good morning, Robin. Great presentation. I go along with my colleague in my sister city of Sunrise. Let's not forget about our western cities here. We are very much interested. We have a lot of commercial growth going on the very west of our city, along with Sunrise. So when you all start your meetings to get with the cities, I would very much like staff to be involved in that, because we are moving and shaking and growing here. Not quite as much as Sunrise, but we're right next door. So let's not forget about us. The Western cities are here and we need to be a part of this. It's really imperative. So thank you.
Keep talking, and I might decide to move to your city instead.
Lots of new houses here, lots of new growth. Contact me, I'll give you a tour. It's a great, but it was a great presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And if I might also share with you, our governance task force actually met yesterday, and they had some really great feedback about our board of directors and the future development of our board. And one person even said, in the future, I vision our board to have, because right now we have 15 members. The comment was, I envision us to have 35, 45 members in the future, right? So, and part of that conversation was, we need members on our board in all regions of Broward County, North, Central, South, East, Central, West. So along with listening sessions in the longer term, probably towards the end of this fiscal year, we'll be talking about engaging some key individuals to join our board so that we can address the needs of all of Broward County.
That's wonderful. When you initially started and I heard Greater Fort Lauderdale, I, said, well, that leaves us out again. But as you went on, I realized you haven't forgotten about all of us out here in Western Broward. So just keep us in mind. I know staff will be more than willing to meet with you, and I will anytime. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. Hi, Brian.
Hello, thank you very much for your comments. Always appreciated. Next up, we have Lauderhill Representative Board Member Martin.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I too am a brand new commissioner and looking forward to working with everyone, and particularly the MPO. And my question, maybe a simplistic one, a couple of questions actually. Are there any other TMAs in Broward County, or have there ever been, or Greater Fort Lauderdale has been the lead on this and we're all coming up and trying to play catch up here?
So yes, there has been other TMAs in Broward, which was the South Florida Education Center TMA. And Brian, you might have some background on this and could help me out here, but as I understand it, those duties have transitioned under the town of Davie. In addition to that, not in Broward County, but in our region, there is the Boca Raton TMI. So get your pens out. This is another acronym to add to your acronym dictionary. TMI is Transportation Management Initiative, which is like TMA, but on a smaller scale. So I believe there still is TMI in Boca Raton, as well as the city of West Palm Beach.
All right, thank you very much. Second question, just for a visual, I guess is the way I'll say it. What's the last project y'all completed in the Greater Fort Lauderdale area or study?
So all of our focus has been delivering transit operations. So if you're familiar with the red and yellow trolleys that were driving on the streets of Fort Lauderdale, whether it was on the beach or the downtown area, as well as the Riverwalk water trolley, which connected folks from the south side of the New River to the north side of the New River. So we developed and delivered transit operations. And at one point we were operating 9 transit routes, and that made us, I think, Greg, you have the figure, I think it made us like the 6th largest transit agency in the state of Florida or something. We were very busy focusing on transit operations. That being said, my background personally is actually transportation demand management. I was a project manager with the Florida Department of Transportation for 5 years, overseeing the South Florida Commuter Services Program, all the way from Miami-Dade County in the south to the Treasure Coast in the north. And I also initiated the ongoing fare interoperability project across the region. So my personal expertise is in transportation demand management, as well as a number of members on our board, including those from SFRTA Tri-Rail, obviously Broward MPO, and others.
Okay, my last question. If, based on your strategic plan for 2021, you're targeting between now and April to basically reach out to the rest of us in the Broward County area, the rest of municipalities, find out what some of our needs are, and that's what I guess your draft community vision report will harmonize as.
Correct.
Am I understanding that correctly?
You're understanding that correctly. And then after that, after April, we'll translate what we've heard into a fiscally constrained implementation plan.
And from the MPO's perspective, the partnership has to be in place before y'all start all this, or we determine if we do the partnership after you've kind of gotten a feel for what our needs are?
So our partnership agreement is actually going to be on the special meeting agenda for January 28th. And that's where you'll see the agreement and the backup for that agenda item.
All right, thank you very much. And I look forward to working with the board and everybody associated with it. Thank you.
Thank you and welcome to the
Thank
board.
you.
Next up, we have North Lauderdale Representative Ziadi.
Good morning, everyone, and Happy New Year.
Good morning, Happy New
Good
Year.
morning.
My question, I'm a little confused. I know you referenced the trolley and that type of transportation. Cities throughout Broward have their own shuttle service and that type of thing within their cities. We actually, through Broward County, have received funding to have our shuttle service so that we can connect with neighboring cities like Margate and Tamarack. So what's the difference between that and what you are offering?
Yeah, great question. So that's the community shuttle program that Broward County oversees. What we were operating in the form of the Sun Trolley was part of that very program that you referenced. Our new direction will not be related to the community shuttle program of Broward County. We won't be operating or overseeing operations of transit in any way. Although, of course, that can change in the future, and it doesn't prevent us from carrying out a pilot project to test out new technologies and new innovations like microtransit or whatever might come in the future. So at this time, we are no longer part of the community shuttle program of Broward County. Does that clear up the confusion?
No, because is the trolley still operating? And
No, actually, Mayor, again, Happy New Year, Mayor. Just to let you know, the trolley ceased operation, and we divested all of our assets, transit assets, as part of the implementation of the penny sales tax with Broward County on community shuttles. So Broward County and the city of Fort Lauderdale took over operations, not called Sun Trolley any longer, but just a community shuttle as part of their programming. And the TMA basically can go back to its original foundation. And this is where we're looking to assist our local government. Our sister agency, the TMA, would be able to go back and help our sister governments in working with your businesses and your communities in coming up with other alternative transportation modes, as well as providing plans to allow for telecommuting and all the rest of it that would work well with their communities. And that's one of the charges that the MPO would like for, to advance over the next decade. And so that's why the partnership was being proposed in this way. I hope I made it further, probably more confusing, but you can let me know.
I did. Yeah, you did. So I'm letting you know.
The transit in Fort Lauderdale is being managed and overseen by City of Fort Lauderdale staff. So we were operating it on behalf of the City of Fort Lauderdale and Broward County. We changed hands and the City of Fort Lauderdale is operating it. I believe they are in the final stages of procurement for a new operator. They still are operating, but it's no longer the trolleys that you knew before. They're more of like the white standard cutaway buses.
Sure, sure.
And that remains under the Broward's community shuttle program. But the TMA is no longer a part of that.
So then what give me an example of what the TMA may do, or what you're thinking that you can possibly do aside from a shuttle service. Can you be a little more specific?
Absolutely. So it's all under the umbrella of transportation demand management, like Greg referenced. First of all, transportation demand management is recognized under Florida statutes as a way to remove traffic congestion. And there are a number of tools that could be used to carry that out. There's actually, and if I may ask somebody from Broward MPO staff if it's okay for me to share the Transportation Demand Management Guidebook that was developed by the Florida Department of Transportation. And I think that will give you a really good idea of different strategies that we can undertake here in Broward County to achieve those goals. But just to give you something to chew on, at least for the purposes of the moment, some of the things that we can do is help work directly with large employers to help them strike a telework balance for their employees. Or we might find in a particular municipality that a lot of the private employers are really wanting a pedestrian connection to Tri-Rail. So we would advocate for those needs. I guess you can say would be a liaison between private companies, private employers, and public decision makers as an advocate. Those are some of the things that we would be able to carry out as a Transportation Management Association recognized by Florida statutes. Does that help?
Yes.
And Mayor,
Yes.
and Mayor, just to put some, a cherry on top of that statement, let's take the city Sunrise and the city of Tamarack. So we have major employers in Sunrise and some in Tamarack, and then it's working with those employers to help find locations, alternative ways for either them to work or for them to get to work. And that is, the thing. We would develop plans to assist with that and to handle the growth that we're seeing here in Southeast Florida, especially now with with COVID and the relocation of employees from Manhattan to Southeast Florida. Their businesses may still be up there, but their remote work locations are here. So that's going to be a whole new challenge for us at the MPO and with the partnership at the TMA to understand how we deal with these newly relocated folks that aren't necessarily, their businesses aren't paying taxes here, but their businesses are up in different areas. So then how do we handle the traffic that is generated from them? And I think that that's going to be one of the great partnerships that we'll be able to have with the 501(c) in developing that into the future. So I'm really excited about what the potential is. And as Robin goes through the listening sessions with our partner governments, all 31 of them, plus the county, plus the school board, is going to be some of the conversation that we'll have over the next year as we solidify our partnerships and see what the needs are. Because what may be a need in North Lauderdale may be a different need in Miramar or in Sunrise. So, that's really part of the excitement of the partnership.
Understood. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. It's always great to have you with us. Okay, so that is all the hands that I see raised at this time. So, Mrs. Chiarelli, great job. And I knew that this item would draw a lot of questions because it's new and you did a great job. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Next up is how to access project information for your community. And if you remember the November workshop, this is just so you can yourself go to the Broward MPO webpage and learn how to access all of the programmed projects in your community. And you can even teach your engineer and planning staff how to do this. To give us a live demonstration is Mr. Christopher Restrepo.
Good morning, everybody. I hope everyone's having a great Thursday. Today, I'm going to take just a couple minutes just to show you how you can access your projects in your community through our website. And hopefully it'll go very quickly and everyone will be able to do that immediately after this demonstration. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen right now and I will show you the demonstration. So share. Here we are. So the first thing you're going to do, just a quick recap, what I'm going to show you are projects that are from our Transportation Improvement Program. And if you've never heard of the word Transportation Improvement Program, the TIP for short, what it is essentially is it's a 5-year program that we update annually. So it's one of our core products that we have at the MPO that prioritizes and documents the funding of transportation improvement projects the region expects to build over the next 5 years. So what it contains are projects, everything from reconstruction, maintenance, highways, transit, bike ped, public transit, and port and aviation as well. So to get a view of what those projects in your backyard look like, what you'll do is you'll go to our MPO website, which is what I have on the screen right now, browardmpo.org. And if you'd like, you can follow along and do the tutorial yourself. To access it, you'll go to our tab that says what we do. And under here, you'll go to the section where it says core products and select the Transportation Improvement Program, TIP. Once there, it'll pop you up to the next web page, and you'll be able to view everything that we have as information for the Transportation Improvement Program. To access the reports themselves, you'll scroll down to the important links box. And in this important link, you can access the full document, which is about 500 pages if you want to do some light reading on a Sunday. And you can click on that and view the whole report. But if you want to go specifically just to what's in your municipality, we have these municipal reports, and they're listed in alphabetical order and in tabular format. And what we've done is through a collection of georeferencing, we've been able to extract every single project that is located within your municipality so that you have a specific report that you can use and take to any kind of meeting that you have to see what are the upcoming projects for the next 5 years. So if we want, for an example, we'll click on one, and Coconut Creek is the first one. So I'll just click on that real quick, and it'll bring you to another tab. And what you'll see is the title page, and it'll describe the fiscal years that it's representing. So this one's 2021 through 2025. You'll scroll down, and then below that, the next page is a little bit of a how to read the report. And I'll zoom in just a little bit so we can see it a little bit better. And what you're going to take away from this is first your project identification. That's the purple tab right up here. And it'll give you the FM number. That's our financial number that we use to make sure that we're being consistent with all the information that's going on with the project. And then a name for the project. So this first one here is City of Coconut Creek, various locations. But below that, you'll have the project characteristics, which includes everything from work summary, the agency that's leading it, the limits, this one doesn't have limits here, the length of the project, and how to reference this project back to the Metropolitan Transportation Plan. So all these projects, of course, come from the MTP, or Metropolitan Transportation Plan, then go to our multimodal priority list, and then get programmed for funding in our Transportation Improvement Program. Below that is all the financial information, and everything that you find here is everything from phases, funding sources, and the fiscal years that the money is being programmed in. And at the end, you'll see the totals for each of the phases, and the fiscal years. So right here, this project is showing $325,000. And then over in this section over here, we have all the money that's being contributed from prior years and what's expected in future years. And then again, the total project cost below that. But if you've read all of this and you haven't really figured out what the project is, there's also a section at the bottom that has a little bit of extra description that'll help explain that. And of course, if you don't know it, you can always contact one of us at the Broward MPO and we'll be able to help you out. So after that, we'll go in. Oh, then we have our project location map. Yes, so this is probably the most important thing because you want to know exactly where the project is, right? So in this box over here, you'll be able to see an outline. So it's right here, this blue line here, of where the project is. So I'll go down a little bit and show you what some of these pages look like. So we have them broken up into sections based off of what the component groups of each of the projects are. This first section, for example, is highways. So what you're going to see are mostly roadway projects. And this is what a typical TIP page looks like in the reports. So, okay, great. And I'll scroll through just to see a couple more examples. So you'll have individualized pages for each project all wrapped up into one. So again, you'll go to our MPO webpage, browardnpo.org, hover over what we do, click on Transportation Improvement Program, scroll down just a little bit to the important links box, and then under Municipal Reports, you can be able to select any one of the municipalities that are listed here. And that's your demonstration.
Thank you. Great job as always. If you have any questions on this presentation, you can raise your virtual hand now. Well, okay, great. The first up, we have North Lauderdale Board Member Ziadi.
Yes, mine is not so much a question as much as an observation. Mr. Restrepo really needs to update his photo.
For sure.
That was all. Thank you. Great
That was
presentation.
funny. Thank you for that.
And it's great because that way we can show, you know, the residents and the rest of the commission and staff. So thank you. Really, really good presentation.
Thank you very much for your comments. Board Member Welch.
Good morning, and thank you very much, Christopher. I really appreciate it, and thank you for using Coconut Creek as an example. But the whole point was education and educating ourselves, as well as being able to communicate that to our residents. So thanks a lot.
Thank you for your comments. They are appreciated. Okay, that's the last hand that I saw raised. So thank you, Mr. Restrepo, for a great presentation. Next up, we are moving on to a notable project that was submitted by Coconut Creek, and it is my pleasure to introduce Mrs. Sheila Rose.
Hi, good morning. Good morning. Hi, Sheila Rose. I'm Deputy City Manager in the City of Coconut Creek. And first, let me say thank you to all of the MPO staff for allowing me this opportunity to present a project that I hope that you will find really exciting and something that we should all grab hold of and move forward. I also want to thank Rebecca for volunteering to assist me in running the PowerPoint presentation through this virtual show. So if Rebecca, if you could key it up, I'll start with that. Several months ago, Commissioner Welsh, who is your board member, approached me and indicated that there was going to be a board engagement forum, although virtually, and challenged me to brainstorm on ideas for regionally significant projects that were multi-jurisdictional and that were something that the board, the MPO board, may find compelling and worthwhile moving forward. And although this is not a new project, this is a project that's been knocking around for several years. It's a complicated project because of the volume of agencies involved that would require coordination to make it happen. So with that, if you could, Rebecca, move to the next slide and I'll start there. As a board, you will hear over and over the challenge to think regionally. As the MPO board, you're going to hear often that the cars don't know where your municipal boundaries are. And as a board member, you need to be able to think about the regional implications of transportation. The Greenways master plan that was developed by Broward County was really spearheaded by one of my dear friends, Kristen Jacobs, and one of your past board members. And it's been a long time coming, but the vision that she saw required that each of us commit to moving this forward incrementally, and that we see the opportunities for regional improvement of our system so that our greenways and trails became part of the transportation system. So what I'm going to be talking about today is specifically about the C14 Greenway, giving you a little glimpse at what it looks like today, asking you to put on your futurist visions, think about what it can be and what it should be as a regionally significant project. So I'm not sure if you're aware of, many of you live in, in different parts of the county, but in North Broward County, you can actually ride your bike from Pompano Beach, A1A, all the way to the outside of the levee at the Sawgrass Expressway. You can actually get to the Everglades, but there is a trail, the C14 Greenway Trail, that will take you from the beach all the way to the levee. And that is part of our Greenways Master Plan. So I show you this graphic just so you see the route of the current Greenway. And then you begin to see the number of municipalities that it traverses. If you could go to the next slide. Thank you, Rebecca. What I'm asking you to think about today is the potential for this trail, not only to allow you to skirt through the streets of Pompano Beach, Coconut Creek, Tamarack, to get across the county, but to see the vision of it as a future component of our transportation network. Right now, the C14 Greenway connects to A1A, and there are significant improvements underway on A1A to provide for it to be a complete street or bicycle friendly, so that there are trails on one of the most scenic highways of clearly in the country. The potential to connect this trail to the dike is that option that not only gives you that connection directly to the Everglades, but gives you the connection to the backbone of a future greenway running on the dike. So I just wanted to let you think about that visual as we sort of explore these issues. So move on to the next slide, please, Rebecca. Thank you. What's interesting, and I've been out there on my bike. I've tried to walk it, but when you take the C14 Greenway and you get all the way to the end and you pass through some of the wonderful improvements that have been made along the corridor by the cities of Tamarack and Margate, you get to the end and you think, oh my gosh, I'm at the end. I'm at the end. I'm at a drainage pond. I see the Sawgrass Expressway, but I can't get to the other side. But if you've had an opportunity to go watch the sunset at that Atlantic trailhead, it is one of the most beautiful locations to watch that western sunset in the county. It is access to the dike, but it is currently inaccessible from the C14 Greenway, unless you were to backtrack about a mile and ride your bike or walk along the surface streets, go under the Sawgrass Expressway and follow that route to get you to the trailhead. What you see in this yellow line demonstrates the opportunity, and it is just a line, to provide that missing link. For the purposes of today's discussion, this is the critical piece that needs to happen before other construction projects, namely the expansion of the turnpike and some of those improvements in Tamarack, move forward that might preclude it. So that yellow line is just a concept, it's just an idea, but some of the graphics shown give you an idea of what it could look like if it were a signature pedestrian and bicycle crossing of the Sawgrass Expressway. So if you could move on to the next slide, please. The reason this is complicated, and you'll just begin to see the number of agencies involved, and I would like to really reach out and thank all of the participants that have worked with our staff working group. And I'm just the spokesperson. I'm not the owner of this project. I'm just the spokesperson on behalf of the city of North Lauderdale, Tamarack, Margate, Broward County, and not only Broward County Engineering, but the Broward County Parks and Recreation Department, Pompano Beach, Florida's Turnpike, and of course, the MPO. So you can see that it's going to take all of us pulling together to make this happen. So thank you to the partners that have helped put this presentation together. As a group, we've branded this Seagrass to Sawgrass, and you'll start to understand, you'll start to understand why when you see the limits and the potential of this project. As part of the staff working group to pull this presentation together, we polled the various agencies and asked for their thoughts as it related to the benefits of a project like this. And I just wanted to spend a minute talking about those benefits because I think they, we start from the concept of a beautiful recreation trail, and it clearly grows into a transportation project that is not only for recreation, but ultimately becomes a commuter trail. If you think about the ability to access the dike and a paved trail along the dike, we end up with a component of the transportation system that makes cycling to work a viable option. It is also an option that is unifying in our community. Bicycles aren't very expensive. It is a cheaper alternative. So it increases our social equity amongst our community. Cycling and walking are low impact on both the environment and on the pocketbook. So moving a project like this forward only increases the social equity in our community. It also clearly adds to the health opportunities of a healthier and more vibrant community by encouraging cycling and walking as part of your transportation system. So this is just a survey of some of the comments that came from our partners pulling this presentation together, and I thought you would see it interesting. Next slide, please, Rebecca. I thought it would be helpful to point out some of the projects that are beginning to feed into the C14 Greenway. And with the MPO board's support and with the FDOT funding, Coconut Creek currently has under construction about a $15 million project to convert Lyons Road to a complete street. What that does is it connects all of Coconut Creek, the entire 6 miles of Coconut Creek, to the trailhead at the south end of Coconut Creek, which is right at Fern Forest. Bicycle lanes will be buffered, sidewalks will be widened, so the accessibility to this trail and the trailhead at Fern Forest is growing every day. If you'll move to the next one, please. Some of the things that are going on currently along the C14 Greenway are really wonderful opportunities for public access. There is a dog park, there's boat access to the C14, picnic pavilions, walking trails, exercise amenities, and all these things exist along the trail. We're just talking about increasing the regional significance of this trail by completing the missing link. And if you move to the next slide, I'll show you some of the current activities, if you haven't been out there, that are happening and programmed along the trail. The city of Tamarack has a beautiful farmers market on the weekends. They are increasing the public art installations along the corridor. So the C14 Greenway Trail is currently very viable. The missing link is what we're focused on today. So thank you, Rebecca. If you could move to the next one. Again, you'll see Tamarack increasing the public art along the corridor, but in the first picture in the graphic, you'll see the slide, and it's a little desolate, but you are seeing quite a bit of activity: walkers, bikers, joggers, rollerbladers out there on a daily basis. It's also a great opportunity to see the occasional water skier in what we talk about it as the C14, but it's actually the Stranahan River. So you are able to see water skiers, recreation. It's a very neat facility, and I encourage you to get out and look at it. If you move on to the next one, it's a complicated project. And the reason that we're here today is to point out the complications, but they're not insurmountable. Coral Springs, the Broward Municipal Service District, Tamarack, Coconut Creek, FDOT, Broward County, the South Florida Water Management District, all need to be collaborators in moving this idea forward. And that's why we're here talking with you today, because we think the key to making a project like this successful is having it acknowledged as a regionally significant project, supported by the MPO, and in fact, hopefully spearheaded by the MPO. So if you move on to the next one really quickly, some of the projects that are under construction in the area or in design are time sensitive. And this is a project that we have talked about for several years, but without a formal action to move it forward, my fear, and I think the fear of the group, is that we will begin to create obstacles that will make this bridge even more difficult to construct. You see here the stormwater pump station that is currently proposed by Tamarack. And I would say very candidly, Tamarack has been at the table with us working hand in hand, and they have already agreed that they will immediately work to accommodate a future bridge design in this area. Also in this area, Florida's Turnpike is proposing a significant expansion, and you may have heard about the Sawgrass Expressway expansion. It's important that we get moving and that this project get legs so that that expansion project doesn't go forward without an accommodation for a bridge of this nature. So Rebecca, if you'll just move to the next one. Interesting, when we first started talking about this bridge, we looked at it as an opportunity to really do a signature bridge that might be a welcome to the northern and western components of the county. And as the players got involved, some of the issues related to safety and security were raised, but the creative solutions that have come out of this group show that a bridge doesn't need to be boring to be safe. And these are just a few examples of pedestrian and bicycle bridges that have been constructed around the country or around the world, in fact, that could be iconic and could make for a regionally significant project in this area. So I just wanted to bring those to your attention. And I really wanted to thank the team that brought these to the table to show that there are options for bridge structures that could fill that bill. So thank you for that. And if you move on to the last one. So what I'm here asking on behalf of the group is that the MPO consider taking this project on, that they work to create a funding and implementation plan, whether it be through a collaborative of the cities in Northwest Broward County, or whatever format it takes in that regard. As long as we work as a team, I think we can make this happen. So over the last several weeks, I've been touching base with all of the agencies. It seems from a staff level perspective, we have a great deal of support. We're here today asking that you, as the formal board of the MPO, consider this project as it being regionally significant and something that warrants consideration as a future project of the MPO. So I would be happy to answer questions. I have several partners in crime that are on the line and ready to answer questions. I am just merely the spokesperson. I volunteered because it was a Zoom meeting. Otherwise, I would have a whole team of representatives from the county, from the Tamarack, from the various cities along the corridor that would be here with me to answer your questions. But I'll try to funnel them if I can. So thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. We do have a few hands raised, and we're going to start with Coconut Creek Representative Welch.
Thank you, Brian. And thank you, Sheila, for being the very good spokesperson today. We really appreciate it. So, Brian, I'm going to look to you for advice. I do want to make a motion to move this, but I also have some call outs for additional municipal support in this project. So which goes first?
Well, it's been introduced to the MPO board at this time. So I think what would be appropriate is the next step would be to actually put it on for an MPO agenda in the future for a discussion on what role the Broward MPO will be directed by the board of directors to move forward.
So should I comment or make the motion?
Well, this is a workshop, so no motions.
Okay.
So
Well,
we
I
will
appreciate that, but I am totally in support of asking my colleagues on the board for support and directing their staff to develop funding and an implementation plan. But I also want to put out the hand across some of the other municipalities. For instance, Coral Springs, I believe Joshua Simmons is on the line, Vice Mayor, and you have already an Atlantic Trailways loop in one of your projects. And it looks like it clearly aligns with this. So I was hoping that we might be able to bring some of that partnership in it as well. And then not to forget further north, Parkland. I know there had been some discussion about an MSD memorial somewhere along the line. And maybe we should also have some thoughts on that also. I've been on the C14 Greenway, both on foot, with my dog, on a bike, and I have also experienced the sunset over there on the levee, or dike as Sheila refers to it. And it's breathtaking. And to realize that we might have the capability to go on foot or on bike or with our dog and traverse across safely a bridge over the Sawgrass and experience that without a car, what a thought. And to know that we all helped make that possible to move forward. It would be a very proud day, taking cars off the road. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you. And I know the executive director is listening, so your point has been noted, and thank you for your comments. Next up, we have Margate Representative Board Member Arcerio. Sorry, I butchered your name.
Thank you. It's Arcerio, Vice Mayor Arcerio, City of Margate. I'm excited about this project. I'm a new member to the board, so I actually just found out about this the other day. A staff had sent it to me. But what makes it more exciting is not even knowing about this project. I've been trying to push my staff to push the MPO to do because the Greenway Trail goes through our city, and we have been blessed to have these FPL easements run right north and south down Rock Island Road. And we thought, well, what would be a nice way to connect cities, Coral Springs, all the way to the Greenway Trail, and actually would take students off of Sample and Rock Island Road when they're commuting to the high school. So to see this project with the Greenway and board member Welch, I think she's got great vision. So I certainly would support this. I just wanted to point out in the presentation, because one of our parks was featured in there. It was Veterans Park, and we have citywide done a $10 million bond. And we've made a lot of improvements to our parks, specifically Veterans Park. We've redone the boat ramps and the docks, and we've also included bathrooms. So I know that that's going to be a nice amenity to have along the Greenway Trail. So I just wanted to thank them for including Margate Veteran Park in the presentation. So yes, you have my support.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, board member, and welcome to the board.
Thank
you. Next up, your next door neighbor, Tamarack Representative Placco.
Okay. First of all, Sheila, I have to thank you. I know how hard you have worked on this. I have heard about it from our staff. You have been really, really incredible. Thank you so much. We, of course, are very much in favor of this. If no one has been down Southgate along the C14 in Tamarack, you saw some of the pictures today. Thank you, Sheila. We also have a fitness park there with the most up-to-date fitness equipment you've ever seen. The other thing that has not been shown because it is still in the process. Our art committee has a project at our Sunset Point Park of a giant kaleidoscope that will look out over the Everglades. So how wonderful will this be to have this in place where people can actually get out, see nature at its finest, and be safe. The other thing I have noticed recently during the pandemic, more and more people are out walking and riding bikes, and we need to keep that going. And I think this project will certainly help it. You certainly have all our support, whatever you need from us. We are very, very excited about this. And thank you to all our neighbors for supporting us as well. Sheila, great job. Look forward to this project. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next up, we have Sunrise Board Member Scuoto.
Yes, I mean, we had a previous commissioner, Larry Sofield, who was on the MPO for years and would always love to be the pilot programs for a lot of these different things that the MPO is doing. And a lot of times we always talked about all these bike paths, but none of them connect together and don't continue from east to west or north to south. So, you know, we would be in support of something like this because it does make a full connection from east to west. And about the bridges, I think it's a great idea because we've been discussing this over the last year or so with the county at the BB&T Center, that they want to develop that whole entire property. And in that, they want to do a bridge that would go over the sawgrass also, that would connect from the arena to the sawgrass, because Mr. Viola wanted to do this as a component to nature and have walking paths up there on top of the levee and stuff. So yes, we would be in support of this, but just make sure coming down the road when we come for our bridge across the sawgrass that you guys reciprocate back to us. And also just to let you know, part of the Amazon project, their project goes from Northwest 44th Street to 50th Street, but behind them is the greenway that ends at 44th Street. At the last meeting, it's not, they just have their plans in, but I put in writing that we would want them to connect the greenway from 44th Street to Commercial Boulevard, and they would be willing to pay for it. So it's another way to have, you know, like you said, large employers to come into your city and be a good neighbor, and to also to pay to make a connection that would connect the greenway from Sunrise up to Tamarack. So, and if it could keep going, it would be great to connect it right to where you want to go with Atlantic. Because like you said, when you drive the Sawgrass 2 years ago, you might have seen a couple of cars over there at Atlantic Boulevard watching the sunset. Now you go there, you can't even find a parking space there. So what a great thing to have for all the residents out west. So yes, Sunrise, I will make sure that I bring this up to my commission and make sure that they support this fully too. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. And I would like to add that the Broward MPO has a long history of supporting projects with the host municipality. So I can't speak for the board of directors how they're going to vote, but there's a long history of that support being there for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, next up we have Coral Springs Representative Board Member Simmons.
All right, good morning, everybody. It's always a great day to represent the city of Coral Springs here at the MPO. I hope everyone's doing well. Just one, since this is the Everglades Day, I wanted to mention that, we, over the last couple of years, and I know since I got elected, we wanted to take advantage of our connection to the Everglades. Most people think of the eastern cities being up front to their water, where we have water behind us. And so we wanted to connect more to the Everglades. In the western part of Coral Springs, we have the Sawgrass Nature Center. And we have wonderful environment and Everglades focused activities at our Sawgrass Nature Center. So we wanted to extend that over to the Everglades as well. Yes, everyone's mentioning the Atlantic Trailhead, which is an amazing site to behold when you think about all the people that are there. And so one of the things that I've been pushing within the city is to have a tighter a tighter and more apparent connection to Coral Springs. And so in the coming year or so, you will start to hear more about this massive project we want to undertake within Coral Springs that will connect us to the Everglades, as well as probably some future some stuff in the future. And so I want to keep that in mind. I want you all to keep that in mind as we continue to talk about the connection from neighboring cities and things like that up to the Everglades. So while the Coconut Creek Bridge, or not Coconut Creek Bridge, but the C14, connecting over to the Everglades doesn't impact Coral Springs. It's close enough to that Atlantic part that we want to make sure that both projects are a little, are organic in a way that they won't clash with each other. There won't be this two completely distinct things. And so I hope that as we start to get in the design process and things of that nature, that we kind of collaborate a bit more between the MPO and Coral Springs, so that you don't have just two completely different looking entities so close to each other. Thank you.
Great points, well made. Next up, North Lauderdale, Mayor Ziotti.
Thank you. I think that it's pretty obvious that everybody along that route is in agreement. It's just a matter of getting consensus from the rest of the board members so that we can put it on the next agenda to discuss. So, I know protocol is that we don't have a motion at this point because it is a workshop, but I think the consensus shows that it should be placed on the agenda. So we're all in favor. It's wonderful. North Lauderdale attempted to put a park and do our part there. It didn't work out, but it has not stopped us from trying again. So now that we have new board members and we're going in that direction. So thank you so much. Cities, this is a great segue from one to the other. It's just, I can't say enough about it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your support and your comments. Looks like our last speaker today is going to be Pembroke Park Board Member Clark.
Okay, thank you very much. Can you hear me, Brian?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. And good morning, everybody. And although this project does not affect Pembroke Park directly, it's something that is phenomenal. I love this idea that Pembroke Park would be in total support of this project. Thank you, Brian.
Absolutely. Thank you for your comments.
Yep.
Oh, we have another speaker. Board Member Williams.
Good morning, everyone. Happy New Year. I would like to say this is an excellent presentation, and thank you so much for my birthday wish. And you all have a great day.
Thank you very much. Okay, thank you, Mr. Rose. Great presentation. It looked like it inspired a lot of good thought and support for our community.
Brian, I'm going to step in for one quick second. How can I not? I just want to thank the board members. Sheila, obviously, this has been a driving force. Our friendship with former Commissioner Jacobs, Representative Jacobs, goes long. And this has been part of a dream that I remember her telling me about when she first started riding bicycles again, how many decades ago. With that said, this is also a great opportunity, board members. We are going to bring this forward at the next regularly scheduled MPO board meeting. So it won't be in 2 weeks, but it'll be probably within the next several months. But I also want to kind of point out to you, this is one of those projects we could actually go forward with discretionary grant applications at the federal level that tie all these projects together. And our team did such a wonderful job in the Tiger Grant several years ago, where we brought in another $14 million into our region. And this is something we can probably go after with the new administration. We'll have a little bit more conversation about that under my comments at the end, but I just wanted to bring that to your attention and to the attention of our team members, that this might be a great opportunity for a multi-jurisdictional discretionary grant. Sheila, great job.
Thank you.
Thank you. And our next presentation is going to be done by our very own Mr. Bill Cross. It's going to be on MTech.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Brian, can everyone hear okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and I hope you're seeing the opening screenshot here. So good morning, everyone. My name is Bill Cross, Deputy Executive Director, MPO staff. I'm really excited to present today on our work really of the last 2 or 3 years. It's a really exciting effort here. And it shows the strength of what working together with our municipal partners, along with the MPO, the opportunities that we can create to deliver projects for each other. Again, I'd like to just offer a special welcome to our new board members. I look forward to working with you in the coming months and years. So let's hop into this a little bit. So what is MTech? And it's something that grew out of a mayor's elected officials transportation roundtable that we had all the way back in April of 2018. It was co-hosted by the Broward League of Cities as well as the Broward MPO. And it was an opportunity to bring people together to talk about transportation and what our shared opportunities as well as needs are in the transportation realm. And one of the important outcomes of that meeting was the creation of a steering committee to work on some issues that the overall community felt was important for us to address. So the first meeting was held all the way back in June of 2018. And I want to recognize the initial committee members that volunteered their time. And some of these members are still sitting on this group now, almost 3 years later. So much appreciated all of their commitment to this effort. So some of the key issues that were identified at the transportation meeting and then the follow-up subcommittee was the issue of how we deliver transportation projects within the county and within our municipalities. And there was a recognition that for some of our smaller municipalities, the burden of delivering projects was significant, particularly when it comes to delivering some of our federally funded projects that have significant administrative strings, lots of I's to dot and T's to cross. And these are projects that may only come from time to time to any given city within Broward County. So, we recognize that burden. In addition to that, when we award projects through programs at the MPO, like our C-SLIP program, which is very popular with many of our municipalities, again, these are federal funds. And they're not awarded to every city every year. So having to stand themselves up to deliver those projects in any given year, the challenge is then there may be 3 or 4 years where they don't have any work. And then finally, just, there is a technical component to this, the resources, the administrative knowledge of how to fill out the paperwork to get through those federal as well as state reporting requirements. It can be quite challenging. So the subcommittee wanted to explore some different options for how the municipalities could work together to potentially deliver these projects in a more efficient way and in a way that might help support some of the smaller communities as well. So this team looked at many different structures for how we could do that. Couple are on the slide here that we explored. Ultimately, the group, along with some support from the MPO's legal counsel, in researching these different alternatives, identified the Florida Interlocal Cooperation Act of 1969 under Florida Statutes 163 as perhaps the most straightforward and beneficial approach that could be utilized, again, because the idea was municipal partners supporting other municipal partners. And so this Interlocal Cooperation Act is actually a fairly good fit for exactly that type of purpose. So some of the benefits, it's a very well-known legal process. Again, it's been around since 1969, and it's used quite frequently all across the state of Florida, where municipalities may share a boundary and share an interest in delivering something together. They're able to use this. The agreement can be set up very flexibly with terms and structure to support whatever it is that is acceptable to the partner municipalities and is necessary to meet its purpose. Okay, so backing up for a minute, what are the reasons for trying to pull together? Well, I think I covered some of the reasons why we would want to pull together a cooperative organization for delivering projects. But our subcommittee wanted to think a little bit about what would be some of the benefits. And so they're listed here. Probably front and center is that this could be a centralized group with all the technical experience, expertise in procurement, as well as the construction oversight. And they would have a centralized procurement. They would have a centralized understanding of all the federal and state paperwork, processes, etc., and as well as access to a centralized public involvement team, which is a really important component of successfully delivering these projects. I want to be really clear on this last bullet, which is that this organization, should we successfully get this, I should say when we successfully get this stood up, it's a completely optional value add that the MPO and the municipalities are creating for the benefit of all of our membership, all of the MPO member governments. But it's completely optional. There's no requirement that you participate, but we do think that some of the benefits here, we hope you'll find attractive and that you will, in fact, want to participate. Again, the name that we've come up with, as well as an acronym, because in transportation, it is crucial that we have a good acronym. So we've got a bit of a clunky name, the Metro Transportation Engineering and Construction Cooperative, but I think we've got a pretty catchy acronym in MTEC. And again, all of the creative credit goes to our subcommittee that worked really hard on all of these aspects. Again, just to highlight the bullet here, this organization is created by the municipalities to support the municipalities within Broward County in delivering transportation projects. So some of the founding partners, and we really appreciate our founding partners and absolutely want to recognize their leadership and foresight in supporting this effort, is the city of Dania Beach, Hollywood, Plantation, Pompano Beach, and Tamarack. So some of the key elements of the structure of the organization, first and foremost, there would be a self-governing board. This would also be self-funding, primarily through the project awards. So as the MPO board awards projects, for example, through the CSLIP process, there is funding available for the design, the construction, as well as CEI expenses. And so that can be the primary source of funding for this organization. There are likely to be some member dues. We believe that those will be very modest. We are also looking for somebody, one of the members, to potentially provide administrative services such as insurance, legal, and administrative. I will share that at this point, there have been some more recent developments where it appears that it may be more neutral if the MPO was to provide those services to this instead of one of the member cities. And those are details that are still being worked out and ironed out, and there will be more to come on that. So again, you know, we've got a catchy acronym in MTech. We wanted to have a catchy tagline, so we came up with "Allow us to do the heavy lift by providing centralized services and resources." So that's basically, in a nutshell, what we're trying to do. This is an optional organization set up by the municipalities for the benefit of the municipalities to help efficiently deliver the transportation projects that would be federally funded through the MPO process. So that's my presentation. Again, special thanks to Greg Stewart for his leadership, as well as to our subcommittee board members who've donated their time for almost 3 years now. At this point, Brian, that concludes my presentation, and I would be happy to try to answer, along with Greg, any questions.
Thank you. The first question comes from Coconut Creek Board Member Welch.
Thank you. So really good at presentation. I really support the idea that cities would not have to go to the expense of hiring their own project managers, particularly for the C-SLIP projects, and great centralization, utilization of staff. So my question is, I guess this is to Greg, if a municipality is interested in participating and not listed as one of the founding members, do we need to take that back to our commission and gain consensus in going forward?
Commissioner, great question. And the answer is yes. Basically, Mr. Krause and I, as well as Mayor Gomez from Tamarack, had a meeting yesterday with the legal counsel, and they're going to be preparing draft agreements to establish, and we will be forwarding them to everybody should they want to join. And that will likely be in sometime in February. And we're really excited about this because, as you said, you know, the undue burden on each municipality to, you know, to have the staffing that is familiar with the federal process is very difficult. And that's why we were relying so heavily on District 4 over the last decade to develop projects or build projects for us.
Okay, well, I'll just surprise the commission that those should be coming forward and then they can decide. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Board Member Martin.
I'd like to echo the sentiments just articulated, and also ask again, as the first time, are these presentations, will they be made available so that we can basically steal a couple of your slides to make a "we're coming with this down the road" kind of presentation? I'd love to have that.
Yes, sir. The presentation is posted on our website under agendas, and Brian, maybe you can point them to the specific location.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other member that has a question before we move on to the next presentation? Okay, seeing none, we're going to have a presentation by our very own Mr. Peter Gies. Is going to present on an update of our strategic business plan. Just as a reminder, we are in the first year of the 5-year plan.
Mr. Gies, you need to unmute yourself. First time today.
So I apologize, my toolbar went away on Zoom. So anyway, I'll start over again and say thank you, Brian, for the introduction, and thank you for the ability to present here today. I know we have quite a few new board members here on the MPO board, and I would like to take a few minutes to go a little bit over the history of the strategic business plan, what's included in our current strategic business plan, but then, as Brian mentioned, touch on how we've been accomplishing the tasks in the strategic business plan over the past year. So our most recent strategic business plan was adopted on June 11th, 2020, and the original strategic business plan actually came about in 2015 through work with the MPO board. And one thing that we pride ourselves here in at the MPO is that the strategic business plan is a direct reflection of where the MPO board sees the organization is going to grow in the future and how we should grow. So a lot of the efforts that you've heard about up until this point, so things like MTech, things like the TMA, and also new efforts that you'll hear in the next presentation, these are all things that are born out of the strategic business plan. So typically we use this board engagement forum as a check-in or as a guide to update that strategic business plan, get some feedback from our MPO board members, and incorporate that into our latest and greatest update. So our latest and greatest update was adopted in June of last year. And we thought, boy, at the time, man, are we going to be forward thinking and we're going to create a really nice folder, which I can't show you at the moment, but it was a folder with inserts in there that we envisioned folks going out to the community and being able to hand out. It was going to be a very short business plan. There's 6 handouts in there, a page each, and it was really going to talk about the things that the board was going to focus on and it was going to be very forward facing. It was going to be a tool really that you all could use to talk about things like MTech, to talk about things like our CSLIP program, and make sure that you as representatives of your individual municipalities were going out and being able to talk to your board members about it. So unfortunately, the COVID obviously had different plans for that, and our great handheld tool of a folder and 6 inserts really hasn't come to fruition, but we're hoping when we get back together it will, but they are still found on the MPO website under the strategic business plan. As part of the strategic business plan, we have established 2 things. We've established success markers and also an achievement framework. So success markers are basically specific items that we would like to achieve over a 2- and 5-year time frame, and then also an achievement framework, which talks a little bit about how we're actually going to achieve those things, where are we going to grow in the future, and maybe some visionary opportunities as well. So since the strategic business plan was adopted just this past last year in June, we're really going to focus on the 2-year success markers here for the presentation. However, I do want to point out that we have 5-year success markers that relate to how we're going to respond to emerging issues. And these would be things like resiliency and climate change, autonomous connected and electric shared vehicles, and other items that may come up. In addition to looking at the impact of staff changes within the organization and developing a succession plan, and also how we continue to incorporate new and emerging transportation trends and technologies, very much in line with the first goal here in the 5-year success markers. But again, today, I'm going to focus on the 2-year success markers, of 4 of them in front of you right here. So we'll go into a little bit more detail. So as an update, we have developed a reasonable progress policy. And for those of you who may not be familiar with what a reasonable progress policy is as a funding entity, as an entity that helps to funnel state and federal transportation dollars down into the region, we also want to make sure that those funds are being used judiciously, that our member governments are taking those funds, implementing projects, and doing what they're supposed to be doing with them. It was an issue that came up with the board over the past couple of years to basically say we want to make sure that we are awarding projects and awarding funding to municipalities that show consistent performance. And that is something that we developed as part of the reasonable progress policy. We presented that final policy to the executive committee back in May of last year. And we're working on incorporating that policy into existing program evaluations. So what I mean by incorporating it into existing program evaluations is, for example, developing criteria for our CSLIP program that looks at how well municipalities have delivered on projects in the past and having that be part of the scoring criteria for future grant cycles. We also have our Metropolitan Transportation Engineering and Construction Collaborative, which you heard about in the previous presentation. We've started work on that, and I believe Bill gave a really good overview on that. So we're making very good progress on that front. In addition, we have climate change and resiliency partner studies. This is something that we've been working on internally to coordinate both with Broward County and some key municipal staff in moving those framework studies forward based on the 8 corridors that we've identified in our long-range plan or Metropolitan Transportation Plan. And finally, our Metropolitan Transportation Plan safety studies, which was also another outcome of the work that we did in our 2-year and 5-year update to the Metropolitan Transportation Plan. And we've started working with FDOT, District 4, and also Central Office on that effort. And you'll be hearing more about that in the year to come. So I mentioned that we have an achievement framework as well, which kind of lays out some of the opportunities for growth and visionary opportunities that we have. So working our way from top to bottom on the graphic on the right, you see we have our core responsibilities listed. And these are things that we do day in and day out and that are federally required. And we can confidently say that those items are well on track. For the board members who've been around for a while, you see these presentations consistently at the MPO board. You know that we're making sure that we're reporting correctly to the federal government, that we are developing the plans that are required by federal law and the Code of Federal Regulations. So those things are moving forward very well. And we continue to try and evolve and refine those so that we can make sure that information gets out to our municipal partners. Very similar to a presentation that Christopher Restrepo gave at the beginning of this board engagement forum about how to access projects in our transportation improvement program, which is one of those core responsibilities. We also have some clear opportunities for growth that Bill just talked about through the Metropolitan Transportation Engineering Construction Collaborative, or MTEC. We also know that there's opportunities for growth in our Vision Zero and safety planning, which is some of the work that I was talking about with the Metropolitan Transportation Plan safety studies. Resiliency planning, this is where we're really focusing our efforts for the next couple of years ahead of our next Metropolitan Transportation Plan update. You're going to see a lot of that work coming to the MPO board. And finally, there are some visionary opportunities. These are items that the board told us we want to see the MPO grow here over the next 10 years. And one of them, which you'll be hearing about in the next presentation, is linking housing with transportation. This is something that a lot of regions in the United States have already started to do. In the San Francisco Bay Area, they're doing that. The Council of Governments out there has been tying funding to how we invest in housing and how we invest in future development in the region. And I think that's something that's extremely innovative and something that the MPO is going to be looking at. And we also want to look at smart infrastructure and how we're going to implement smart infrastructure here in Broward in conjunction with our partners over at Broward County. So again, this is something that the board through our Vision 2100 plan has definitely started to emphasize. And it's something that we as staff would definitely like to continue moving forward based on that vision that you all have set. So with that, I'm going to wrap up. I'm going to provide the opportunity for questions. Brian, hand it back over to you, but I hope to be here again next year sharing some more good news about the progress we've made on the strategic business plan.
Thank you. Great presentation as always. If there is anybody that would like to ask a question, just raise your virtual hand at this time. Sign of a job well done. I don't see any hands, so we will move on to the next agenda item, which is actually the Resiliency and Affordable / Attainable Housing Board concept. So just to give you an idea, this idea has great interest at this time. We started talking about having this ad hoc committee, and we already have volunteers and we haven't even advertised it at this time. So if there is, you can control the screen. Great. So I am the MC, but this is my presentation today. I'm going to make it brief, just due to the time constraints. I do see that we're losing some of our attendees at this time. Basically, this committee that we'd be forming, this ad hoc committee, would be working in conjunction with one of our deputy directors, which is Mr. James Cromar and his team. We have, he is spearheading a resiliency study for Broward County. And this board ideally would make recommendations to the board, and it would also be a good board to have because, as you know, we have an incoming Biden administration that's going to start in less than a week. We know that his pick for Secretary of Transportation is former Mayor Pete Buttigieg, And in his acceptance speech, he mentioned multiple times resiliency. So we know that that's going to be a focus. We also know that attainable housing is also going to be a focus. With this, we think that there's going to be pilot programs as well as funds available from USDOT for infrastructure. And as we're finding not only is land use important, but also having transportation for that new land use available, and to make sure that it's resilient enough to resist any climate change that is coming to our community, being a coastal community. So with that, what I'm really looking for is comments of scope and as well as support to move forward with, to see if there's any particular strong objections to forming this ad hoc committee moving forward. Ideally, this is a 5-member board and it's going to be non-elected officials, but it's going to allow for formally elected officials to participate. But it would ultimately be a recommendation, and as an ad hoc committee, it would be as needed. So if in 4 years we have a different administration that is extremely against any resiliency, extremely against any climate change, which can happen, we can always take action as necessary at that time. So at this time, I'm going to open up for questions. I do see that there are a couple of hands raised. Vice Chair Good.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
So thank you for the presentation, and I think it is important that we include, of course, transportation and housing, especially affordable housing. We have those conversations together. I also serve on the Planning Council, and affordable housing is always a big topic of conversation. So although this advisory committee that is being set up would be an advisory committee to the MPO, what do you envision this group doing or coordinating with the county, if at all?
So as we already have, everything's going to be public. There may be a county participant if there was interest in that. But one of the things that we're doing is since we program all of the transportation projects, it would just be a second check of eyes for recommendations, not only to our team, but also to the Department of Transportation. And obviously, the county does have multiple projects planned that would go under that review as well.
Well, I would suggest or recommend, as one board member from the MPO, that someone from the Planning Council staff, not necessarily, because obviously the Planning Council is made up of the majority elected officials, but there's also non-electeds on it. But I think it's important that the county planning department understand what we are doing as an MPO and how we envision the future of our county in regard to transportation and affordable housing, and how they may go hand in hand, and know what it is that we're envisioning, so that they in turn can also see how their specific plans may change in the future, or find better ways to coordinate development with transportation, or there may be opportunities for multiple cities to work together. I just think that it's vitally important that we communicate with the planning department, more so than just saying it's a public meeting and they can listen in. I think they need to be at the table. So I would suggest that someone from planning staff be included as part of that advisory group. That's just my suggestion. So thank you, sir.
Thank you, and that's a great suggestion. And the great news for you as vice chair and serving on the executive committee, you are going to approve the membership. And so your point has been well noted.
Thank you very much. And just my last point for the day that I wanted to make is that the picture that was used early on in the meeting is 10 years old. I wish I looked like that, but I no longer look like that. So I would ask that we find updated photos such as the one on the website for my photos. So thank you, Mr. Koletka.
Thank you very much. Coconut Creek Board Member Welch.
Just quickly, I totally support this, and because there is relatively no affordable housing in our county, let alone in some of our municipalities. And I really relish the idea that the members are going to be non-elected. So it's truly on a continuous basis and from honestly, a totally different perspectives. So I appreciate it. Look forward to the resulting membership that is suggested.
Thank you very much. The comment is appreciated. Does anybody have one last comment? Because this is our final presentation, and if not, we will move on to closing comments from our Executive Director, Stewart. Since I'm the MC, before I hand it over to him, I do want to make a comment that was unexpected. He doesn't know I'm going to make this comment, but I have had many bosses, and I will tell you, even though I've only been with the organization for 6 months, by far, Mr. Stewart is the best boss I've ever had. So with that, I want to welcome you to your closing comments, sir.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Brian, for that. That was a little unexpected, but I appreciate that. I try to lead the way I would want to follow. And that's, one of those things that in working with a great team, I've always believed that you are who you represent in the organization, whether you're in the lowest position or the highest, it's irrelevant. It is really how you believe the team together. I have a couple things I'm going to present today on our 2021 efforts that are outside of what has been presented today. Am I in charge of the slides, Rebecca, or are you doing it? If you want, you can go to the next slide if you don't mind. Thank you. For those of you who have been around for a while here in Broward, and this is a project that I've had the great opportunity to work on for about 2 decades. The Coastal Link project is actually starting to move forward. In December of 2021, the Next Miami newspaper actually published what they believed was going to be the local commuter services route in the stations in both Miami-Dade and Broward. This is obviously 2 decades in the making that this has been happening. What we have been stymied on was actually finding funding for the commuter services from our local government partners. And, Broward County just recently, actually as of Tuesday, went forward with an MOU that they're going to present over to the Department of Transportation District 4 to start working on the PD&E. That PD&E not only covers Broward, but it will also cover our partners in Miami-Dade. Miami-Dade MPO, the Broward MPO, and the Palm Beach MPO have been working on this together. We have agreements in place with the 2 DOT districts, as well as the South Florida Regional Planning Councils, Treasure Coast Planning Councils, and the South Florida Transportation Authority, SFRTA, also known as Tri-Rail. We've been obviously working for years with the RPCs, getting federal monies to do station area planning and so forth that, we'll actually start moving forward with the commitment at Broward County. And we're really excited about that. Next slide, please. So what this slide actually represents is what Brightline has published, saying this is how they see their system operating. So starting from downtown Pompano Beach and working our way to Oakland Park and Wilton Manors, downtown Fort Lauderdale, where the Brightline station is, then down to the Fort Lauderdale Airport, Dania Beach, Hollywood, and Hallandale is what the Brightline folks thought commuter service would look like on their tracks within our area. And the double yellow line that you see there with the yellow dots are actually the service between Miami-Dade, or between downtown Miami, downtown Fort Lauderdale, downtown West Palm Beach, and ultimately up to Orlando International Airport and over to Walt Disney. So you'll be able to travel south from Pompano to get on a train going north to Orlando. And, basically that's the high speed side of the rail. For those of you who are interested in what they're thinking about in Miami-Dade, and this has been vetted by both Miami-Dade County as well as the Miami-Dade Transportation Planning Organization, which is our sister agency in Miami-Dade. It goes Aventura stop, Biscayne Boulevard stop, North Miami stop, El Portal, the Design District, which many people go to, as well as Wynwood before it gets to the downtown terminal in Miami. So this is a very exciting time for this project, and we're really kind of looking forward to Broward County's participation with all of us in making this thing become a reality. Next slide, please. Another new program that you're going to see that has actually already been advertised and begin to stood up is the Planning Technical Assistance Program. That was a program that was dedicated out of the strategic business plan several years back. It is a collaboration with our partner governments here in Broward to actually plan a diverse transportation options. The projects must have some sort of transit nexus because we're really encouraging the expansion of our transit operations, both the Tri-Rail as well as Broward County. And 4 PTAP projects have been awarded by the board, and we're actually preparing funding for 2021 for additional projects. Next slide, please. The City of Fort Lauderdale Lauder Trail Feasibility Study was one that we received an award. The City of Lauderdale Lakes, which is safety and connectivity for all transportation modes. This is actually tying their sidewalk projects together. City of Lauder Hill, 55th Avenue Mobility Plan. This is about a mixed use corridor, which has transit access and pedestrian and bike access. Both Lauderdale Lakes as well as Lauder Hill projects could tie into the C1 or C13 project that Sheila was talking about, as well as trying to figure out how Lauder Trail would then tie into the greater system as well. City of Tamarack, this is a transit access and sidewalk plan to improve on what is a great project already. They have phenomenal access in Tamarack, and this again could tie back into the project we discussed with Sheila, and also a great opportunity to tie in some additional discretionary federal dollars for any one of these 4 projects. Next slide, please. One of the things we're very proud of that we're going to be going forward with in 2021 is part of our Complete Streets program, bringing better streets, better Broward, better life. This is part of the evolution of our Complete Streets project. Can you go to the next slide, please? Can you go to the next slide? I hope. Okay, perfect. Basically, we have a quick build program, and this is something that we're calling #BeTactical. And tactical urbanism is one of those things where you actually put some paint down on the ground and actually move forward. As you can see, one of our members of our board, Commissioner Colburn from Miramar, traveled with a group of folks up to a training that we receive as a federal grant or a statewide grant in Atlanta and Decatur to actually talk about tactical urbanism. That actually helped influence the bicycle pedestrian safety plan the board's already adopted, the walkability action plans the boards have approved, and our Complete Streets master plan. Next slide, please. So what we're talking about in Quick Build is something that we did as part of Let's Go Walking, which was a 2019 event. This was one of our last in-person events that we had a chance to do, where we actually utilized paint to provide access to one of the schools in Miramar, well attended. So this is actually something that we're looking to actually utilize the funds that are set aside for this Quick Build program. Next slide, please. So the Broward MPO team, and this is under the leadership of Stephanie Garcia in our Complete Streets group, she's going to be looking to prioritize what we call interventions to actually provide a tactical urbanist approach to actually providing pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure to help that in this year of 2021. So that you'll be watching as BeTactical. If you want more information on that project, Stephanie's available, and her email address is garcia.s@browardmpo. Next slide, please. Another new program we're going to be introducing in 2021 is the Transportation Academy. And this is something that we, Paul Cavarese and our folks in intergovernmental, along with under Carol's leadership, she's been actually trying to figure out a way to not only educate our board, but other members of the public, whether they be in a chamber of commerce or one of our many social groups that are here in Broward, to actually start educating folks on congestion, transit, multimodal systems, how our funding sources work, and what future transportation trends are. And as a great example of that, there's actually a autonomous vehicle pilot going on right now as we speak in our sister agency in Hillsborough. The Hillsborough TPO is actually moving forward with an autonomous system that is part of really where transportation is headed. And for those of you who remember many of the series, whether it be Buck Rogers or whatever, that we might have watched as children, the reality is flying cars are the next step in the evolution of the transit system and transportation network. And both General Motors as well as some foreign investors have actually introduced vehicles that will be up and running within the next several years, pending U.S. Department of Transportation approval. All of those will be covered in the Transportation Academy, and we're excited not only to have your participation in this, but also have the participation of many of our social groups. Next slide, please. And finally, I'm going to wrap up on this because this is the big one. I've had the opportunity, and it's been a wonderful experience to wrap up my career working with the Broward MPO on working on federal legislation that has brought millions of dollars to our community. This year is probably one of those most pivotal that we've had. Having all three chambers held by one particular party allows for many of the ideas that that party has to get into the next infrastructure bill. I've been working on between with the different agencies, what we believe will be a 5 to 7 year transportation funding bill, as well as a single infrastructure bill that will actually be able to fund some of the many projects that we discussed today, as well as more projects that we believe will come out of Broward County as part of their transit program. With that, our leadership, and I'm blessed because I've been able to serve as being elected to the executive director leadership at the National Association of Regional Councils. The NARC, it's called, is actually a subset of the League of Cities as well as the Association of Counties in Washington. So we've been able to work together to actually figure out national transportation policy that will be in the infrastructure bill. I was elected by my peers to also serve on the Association of Metropolitan Planning Organizations. And that organization is also striving with the U.S. Department of Transportation to increase the ability of MPOs to utilize the federal dollars to provide money to our local governments to build projects, hence the conversation about MTech. And then finally, at the state level, I serve on the executive committee as a former chair of the Metropolitan Planning Organization Advisory Committee staff director's side. And as staff, we get to work with many elected officials across the state. With the 27 MPOs at the state level, we have multiple conversations about where we're going and what things need to be done in both the federal reauthorization as well as an infrastructure bill. But of important note to our organization, the Broward MPO is one of 7 largest TMAs. And I told you earlier that there's a different definition for TMA as well. The Broward MPO is part of what is called the Miami Transportation Management Area. The area that we serve is Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach. The 6 million residents of that area makes us one of 5 of the largest TMAs in the nation. Our role with Chicago, New York, San Francisco, Dallas, Fort Worth is one of those things that you don't necessarily take for granted. About 12 years ago, a transportation reauthorization bill came out of the House unexpectedly, was passed by the Senate, and the Broward MPO, along with our peer agencies around the country, took a huge cut in funding. That funding went to other areas of the country. The secondary bill, and why we have representation in Washington and in Tallahassee, thanks to your local contribution, that next bill that came out 5 years later actually had a return of the money. The bill that we're currently operating on that's under an extension had another increase of funds to the MPOs, so that way we can provide more local projects. In conversations with former Mayor Buttigieg, as well as folks at the U.S. Department of Transportation, and both on the House and Senate side, we recognize that further money is necessary to our local government partners. So our efforts this full year, and you're going to hear a lot from me, is what I'm doing up in Washington representing you, is going to be a very important thing. Once we return to normal practice where we can travel to Washington, I'm going to be recruiting many of you to travel with and meet with our legislative delegations, with technical staff, as well as folks in our associations, to actually further these efforts, so that way, if and when the reauthorization bill, which I expect to be in place by October 1 of this year, we will be well represented and make sure that Broward gets the more than what we currently get in transportation investment for our region. So that's going to be an important thing. And finally, can we go to the last slide? The Safe Street Summit. And I really want to brag on this. The Safe Street Summit started at the Broward MPO about 7 years ago, as a small group of folks getting together to talk about complete streets in Broward. My partners in Miami-Dade and Palm Beach, our sister agencies, also wanted to do the same thing. Instead of having multiple events, we got together and decided, how do we do this in a coordinated method? So basically January 28th, and we have a special board meeting on the 28th in the morning, and on the 29th is actually the full meeting. The Safe Street Summit will be held by the Palm Beach MPO, or TPA as they're called. And I really encourage each and every one of you to attend. Our board members may attend free. Those who not are on our board and staff and general interest, you can attend with a very small donation to the Safe Street Summit event area. And we really look forward to your participation. And with that, I'm closing and we'll take any questions. Back over to Brian, who, by the way, I also enjoy working with.
Oh, thank you very much. I had a feeling it would work out for us. I just want to, if you have any questions of Mr. Stewart before we wrap this up, you can raise your virtual hand. Seeing none, I just want to thank you for joining us today. We all know how important time is to our elected officials, and we hope you found value in the forum that we offered you today. I want to thank our staff. We worked as a team to put this together, including Deputy Director Henderson. Carol, you were invaluable. Thank you. You made this easy. We planned it in advance. It was great. I appreciate everybody's efforts on our team. We know that time is valuable, so if at this time you need to leave, you can. And so what we'll do is we'll give like a 2-minute recess. And if any of the board members remain, we will then promote them to be a participant so we can have a meet and greet and get to know each other. So thank you very much and have a great day.
Great job, team. Just honestly, we appreciate it. And at our high point, I think we had Rebecca, and you can go live on the mic if you want. I think we had about 93 folks participating, which is, again, really great. So, and Brian, great emceeing. Thank you. And thanks for the compliment. That was truly unexpected.
Well, the board should know.
Thanks.
I can hear Rebecca transferring over quickly.
Great job, you guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sheila. Be safe.
Dave, have a great day.
You too.
Were you wondering if I was still here?
Alan! Not being able to sit next to you in these virtual environments is, very.
That was informative. I enjoyed that.
Good. Good.
It's a good thing it's on the website, right? So people can be able to find it and check whatever the information they want. And I'm gonna make sure that Matt looks at follows it and takes a look at what you stated about the MTech and whatnot.
Yep. And also it's recorded, so it'll go up on, once we get the captioners pieces, then this will also go up
How
on the
long will that
website as
take,
well.
Greg?
Carl, are you on?
You
Carl.
talking
Video
about
should
Carol?
be up and ready.
Mayor Walker needs to be transferred over.
It's nice to be live. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Nice actually physically seeing you through the computer.
I want to be seen. What's going on here?
Live is one thing, but this is ridiculous.
And Vice
Hi
Chair, are
guys, I'm
you?
only gonna be on here for a short moment. Hi, man. How you guys?
Myself also have a 12 o'clock, but I did want to come on and if afforded the opportunity to introduce myself and say hey and put a face behind the voice whenever we get started. So I got a few more minutes.
Hey, this is fantastic.
Greg, where can we find the PowerPoint presentations?
Okay, so they're under agendas. If you go to our website, at the top, there's a green bar. It says agendas and minutes. You'd hit on that, and then you go to January, and it actually will say board engagement forum, and you click on that, and each one of those are basically, if you click on the agenda item, it will populate the presentation.
Okay, thank you.
I was really surprised.
Birthday wish?
Yes.
Yay.
Yes, well,
I
you're
know
deserving of a
I
birthday
take
wish.
notes by doing screenshot. I was too shocked to even do my picture.
Well, and we'll get you the actual picture of the birthday wishes
Okay,
too.
well, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, that was, it's fun, and it's great. It's great that we were able to do that together. Because I mean, as you guys are a great board. I really love working with you. I'm at the end of my career cycle here, but Brian
Where are you
says no.
going? Where are you going?
Nowhere. He's going absolutely nowhere. I feel comfortable answering that
He just
question.
keeps saying that. He doesn't really mean it.
Well, my issue that I have to be in too many places at one time. So I'm trying to figure that out. Okay.
Well, why don't we go around and I was looking at ideally that you could put like how long you could tell us how long you've been an elected official and why you ran in the first place. And if you have any goals for the MPO, Hollywood member, would you like to start?
Sure. Thank you so much, Brian and Greg. I thought today was amazing. My head is exploding with all the information as a new member, and I'm super excited about the Transportation Academy, so I can catch up a little bit. I'm as you mentioned, a commissioner in the city of Hollywood. We're a district-based city, so my district is the easternmost district from the ocean to Federal Highway, and from Hallandale Beach Boulevard to Dania Beach Boulevard. I've been in office 2 years, and I have 2 more years just about to go. And I ran for office primarily on concerns of sea level rise and improving the ability of the city of Hollywood to get desirable development along our transportation corridors. So we were so sorry to lose Dick Blattner on our commission, and I am honored to fill his slot on this board. So I just want to thank you all. I'm so excited to work with everybody in person and so impressed with today. So thanks a million.
Awesome. Thank you.
And I'm going to have to jump off, so forgive me.
Okay, understood. Board member Arsaria, I see you're on the screen. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, hi. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, sir.
So first off, I am Vice Mayor Antonio Arsario. I apologize, I'm in the car. My wife and I are expecting our first child and she has a craving, so I had to go and pick up lunch. So I will remain on the call, but I'll probably turn my video off after this. And no, I am not driving, I am safely parked. It's an honor to be here. I was elected first in 2018, and I served on the city's planning and zoning board prior to that. I am the youngest elected official to be elected, not appointed, in the city of Margate. I sit on the Florida League of Cities Advisory Board with fellow board member Josh Simmons for the young elected municipal officials, as well as on the Land Use and Zoning Board. I just want to let everyone know that Margate is here. We want to be a team player. I get and will understand and be open to the region as a whole, as one of the presenters said earlier today. What may work in Margate may not work in Fort Lauderdale. And so I am open to that. I know that our commission has rejected MPO board projects in the past. I don't want that to happen in the future. And I will ask at some point if we can get someone from the MPO to have a workshop with our commission, because rather than keep denying projects and wasting everyone's time, I want to see what works for both of us, and let's get those projects moving forward. I know I don't typically speak on behalf of my commission. I'm one vote, but I know the commission has stressed the importance of keeping bikes off the road whenever possible. So for instance, the Greenway trails today is something that I absolutely can tell you with certainty we would support. And again, I'm excited to be here. I'm actually buying lunch in Coral Springs, so I'm sharing the love. And anyone on this call, please do not hesitate to reach out to me if I can assist you in any way.
Okay, the only obvious question is, what is the due date?
May 22nd.
Awesome.
Baby girl.
Well, welcome to the board. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
And board member Martin.
Thank you, because I just got a call. You saw me pick up the phone and waiting on me. Newly elected, fresh out the box. A little bit of my background is I retired as a chief of the Federal Probation Department in 2018. So I was home sitting on my porch drinking Coronas when this election stuff kicked off. So I'm back to work. I've been active in my community for 15 plus years, doing different things, sitting on different boards, and I'm very excited to be able to serve the city of Lauderdale as a whole. As you're all aware, our city cuts through from South Broward all the way up to North Broward, and we touch on probably more municipalities than anybody else in the county. So I'm very excited about the opportunity to work with everybody and bring some of these wonderful services to the city of Lauderdale. We're a growing population. We have a lot of different challenges, and due to some of the changes that we are experiencing. And again, because we border so many different municipalities, I think some of the things that were talked about today fall right into our wheelhouse as cooperating efforts with some of the other cities as we go forward. I'm open-minded, I'm progressive to a certain extent, and I want to see things happen to better our county. And I think when I got elected and I did a little speech at one of the forums I came on, I challenged all the cities saying Lauderdale was going to move before I knew what all this stuff entails. So I'm going to backtrack and put myself in line to learn and be a sponge, and please share whatever stuff you have with me. I'm open, and I look forward to serving on this board with each and every one of you. So City of Lauderdale, we're in the house, and we're going to be participating to our fullest. And as most of you know, I'm off to another meeting. So deuces, peace out.
Peace.
Thank you very much and welcome. I think that looks like it's the last of the new board members. Mayor Ziotti, would you like to say hello?
Hello, I'm Mayor Ziotti. That's how you pronounce it. And if you have difficulties, Mayor Z is fine as well. I'm elected 2 years ago. I'm the first female mayor in my city. I'm also the first Hispanic mayor, not only in my city, but in Broward County. I've been on the board for the 2 years that I've been, since I've been elected. I'm learning. I love MPO. I'm here because I want to make sure the little guys don't get lost in the shuffle, because we connect to a lot of cities, and I think we are key for that. So so thanks, and I enjoy being on the board, and the meetings are great, very informative. As you saw the PowerPoint presentations and questions, and how everyone is open, and so that's what I really appreciate. You really will learn a lot. So thanks.
Thank you. Mayor Stoner, I see you're on. Would you like to introduce yourself?
how is everybody? Sorry.
Fantastic.
Happy New Year, Mayor.
I'm listening to everything. I'm absorbing.
Happy New Year, Mayor.
Oh my God, is it really?
Yeah, well, it's New Year.
There you go. There you go. I'm going to be in hiding next Wednesday. I'm staying home, locking myself in that room. But anyway, no, we're good. I'm good. You know, it's my entering my 3rd year as mayor, and in Plantation, of course, we're strong mayor, and it's a full-time job. And on any given day, I love it and I hate it. So, but I think that's probably all of us. But I'm so excited to see you guys again. I miss coming up there. I was going to come today. It's like, oh, please let me just go and sit there. So
the 28th, Mayor, I promise you, we're going to have everybody in, well, as many people in the room as we can.
Good.
You know.
But you continue to move along. And I have to say, even coming there for the last 2 years, I did not realize how much staff there was for the MPO. Had no clue. I mean, I could pick some people out, but others, not a clue. So I feel bad that I did not have that background that, you know, although I know the MPO does great stuff. And for those of you that are new, I will tell you, when I left my first meeting, I called somebody and I said, what the heck did I just do? I have a background in construction and everything else, and I was out in the zone, not a clue. I said, they're gonna know, I don't know anything, which is always the big fear. But you'll find that the MPO is very much willing to mentor you and advise you, and the intricacies come in time. So do not fear. They are here for you and will help you all along. And for the new ones, I heard you all asked some good questions right out of the box. So, you know, pat yourselves on the back. So anyway, that's it.
Well, thank you, and thank you for attending today.
Absolutely. I'm here. I'm trying to learn, you know, so as best I can. I don't know if Greg will agree, but I'm working.
Oh, he always has very positive comments. So just so you know.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
And Brian listens to me talk about everybody, and he and I go back and forth on things now that he's on this side of the table.
Yes.
And
a whole different ballgame.
Well, yeah, because even his perspective, you know, not for nothing, when you're sitting on the dais, what you see, and like you said, you don't realize how many people that we have.
Yes.
And then how many other people we touch, because, you know, we may have 40 plus employees, but then we touch 300 at FDOT at the district office, and another 200 up in Tallahassee, and another 300 around the country. And it's just, when you start realizing that volume,
right,
it's one of those things where you go, wow, there's a lot going on, and it's not just in one city.
No, it's not. It is everywhere. And I know, like for me, I get caught up clearly in Plantation. And when I drive to other cities, I'm disappointed in myself that I don't expand my driving range to see how much stuff is happening everywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And but I who did I go through the other day? Tamarack or somebody, and I saw all the utility box wraps, and all of a sudden I'm back here. I said, wait,
why aren't we doing this, right?
Why aren't we doing this?
Exactly.
It's an easy fix. It's low budget, and it's a great optic. So, and we piggybacked, I think, on City of Fort Lauderdale's contract. So for all you newly elected, I don't have a problem plagiarizing somebody else's stuff that's working, not at all. So anyway, I wish them all luck and happiness, and I can't wait till we all get together later this month. So, all right. Take care, guys.
You too.
Bye.
Vice Mayor Williams, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, I would. Good evening, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Vice Mayor Beverly Williams in the city of Lauderdale Lakes, where we made history in 2016. We're the only all-female commission in the whole state of Florida.
Is that true? That is actually
it's true.
How is that? How is that possible? That didn't happen before.
We're wonderful. Okay,
that's cool.
We're the Fearless Five.
That's awesome.
I was elected in 2014. I came on the MPO board, I think, in 2015. I'm a member of the Broward Planning Council, the Broward Affordable Housing. I'm first vice president of the Broward League of Cities, and I'll be sworn in this year as the president.
Oh,
I'm also
awesome.
a master gardener, where we have two beautiful community gardens in the city of Lauderdale Lakes, who we were just on the University of Florida, the newsletter just came out yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So I ran because I felt there was something wrong with my city. And if you're gonna say something is wrong, then you have to get out there and do something to make it right. And that's what I have been doing since 2014. I have 2 more years, and I think that I've done a great job. I love being on the MPO. My city calls me Miss MPO because I'm always talking about the MPO. But I'd like to welcome everyone, the newly elected people, and learn all you can. It's a learning experience every time we have a meeting. So thank you all, and thank you for allowing me to speak, and I gotta run, okay?
Ms. Williams,
yes.
Before you go, if you're a master gardener, then you and I are gonna be really good friends. I'm not a master gardener, but I'm an avid gardener, and I'm always pushing to beautify the city with landscaping, and I have some creative ideas, and maybe we can bounce some things off of each other. So
Right.
I'm so glad you said that.
We grow the children's garden, we call it, at the 31st and 40th Street over near Boyd Anderson, where we grow vegetables for our seniors. I'm there every Saturday morning, other times, but every morning, Saturday morning at 8 a.m. You all are welcome to stop by, wear your mask. Thank you.
You
Bye-bye.
got it. Nice. Thank you.
Go now. Okay.
All right, thank you. Deputy Vice Chair Johnson, would you like to say hello?
I lost my mouse. I couldn't find it. The cat knocked it away. Anyway, I'm a deputy chair, Sandy Johnson, and from Lighthouse Point, and I was elected to the MPO. I was elected to office 16 years ago and have been on the MPO ever since then. I started with Brian. He and I were the new kids on the block back then. And I love everything about it. I've learned so much. I've helped my city in a lot of ways, and I'm now a member of the state board, the MPO-AC, so I'm getting to know a lot of things on the state level. And working with Greg as our leader, I have to agree with Brian. I mean, he's a fantastic leader, and he's achieved so much for us by his activity in all the other organizations that he's part of. So it's really a great group that you've joined. The only thing is I want to disagree with school board member Good. I'm very happy of having my picture of 16 years ago. So don't feel like you have to upgrade me. I'm liking the look. Thank you.
Well, you know, it's funny because I had
members. I'm thrilled that we have so many.
Yes, and I had the same thought to myself. My picture's 10 years old. I wasn't going to volunteer, but with that, we also have our vice chair, Good. Would you like to say some welcoming words?
Yes, on that note, absolutely. Welcome everyone to the MPO. I'm the only school board member on it, so I get to hear the perspectives from all the municipalities and the county commission. And I have to say, the MPO has a phenomenal staff, starting with Mr. Stewart and now Mr. Koleka, and just the whole team are there to be really helpful and in getting you to understand all the various components of being a member of the MPO. And when you're on it, you're there representing your group, but you're also part of a district, which I hope we'll get to hear more about, so you understand that. And then also vote on issues that impact the county as a whole. So I'm very excited to have been a part of MPO. I look forward to working with all of you, and welcome. It's a great group.
Thank you very much. Coming down to the final stretch, I see Fort Lauderdale Commissioner McKenzie's on. Do you want to say hello?
Sounds like he's having technical difficulty.
That's okay. And Sunrise Board Member Scuoto, would you like to say hello?
Could you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Good morning and now good afternoon to everybody. I'm like a new kid on the block. I've only been elected for the last 24 years and being elected in November for another 4. So I'll be around for 28. And then when someone said about the youngest, I guess I was the youngest in 1997 when I ran at 29 years old. So, I mean, I've been active in the Broward League, the Florida League, the National League. I sat on the Resource and Recovery Board, which is the garbage and recycling, for 15 years. I sat on the South Florida Regional Planning Council, which was Monroe, Dayton, Broward. I'm an honorary conch in the Keys because we built that new roads down there and the Jewfish Creek Bridge. I mean, it's just been exciting being part of Broward. I've lived here since 1979, moved here when I was 12. So it's good to be part of a community that this is, other than Brooklyn, Sunrise is the only city that I've lived in. It's great to see the progress that everyone's made throughout the county. And in the beginning, I was one of those people who was against the 1 cent sales tax for the reason that I've said I've lived here for 40 years. We passed this 1 cent tax for 30 years. And I'm saying I will be here for 70 years if I make it to the end of this 30 year, and we won't have a major transportation component. But as of everybody's talking today, you know, hopefully everybody could move our county forward, because there's a lot of things besides bicycle paths that we really need to do to get people out of their cars. And because, you know, we're so spread out, not like New York where, you know, 4 million people ride the subway a day, but now what's going on with COVID and they're down to like 1+ million a day. I mean, we see how things are changing. So, and a lot of people are working from home. And for a lot of us that have all these big corporate parks in our cities, you know, what are they going to transform into? Are they going to stay with large businesses, or are they going to start getting cut up into small little suites for all little small businesses? So it can end up being, you know, X amount of people working in a building to another amount that we don't know yet. We don't know how we're going to come out of this. So working forward with everybody, you know, it's going to be a big change. You know, like you say, you have a 5-year plan, but when you guys made this 5-year plan a year ago or whatever, totally changed. I mean, you're going to have to really rethink a lot of these different things that that we really need to do. I mean, like I said, we have American Express that just built a couple of years ago that was supposed to have 4,200 people working in their building, and they probably have about 200 to 400, if they have that many working in that building right now. So a lot of these people that are paying all this big rent are saying, hey, I could buy you a laptop for 400 and you could stay home. I don't have to spend all this money. So I just wonder going forward, all these law firms, accounting firms, insurance, you know, all these businesses that have done a lot of the stuff online, what's going to happen to all of our major downtowns with all that type of business? So, I mean, every city is going to be going through the same thing that we are. And I just wonder how it's all going to play out in a year or 2 or 3 or 4. So I think our 5-year plan, our 10-year plan, may be, you know, a lot different going forward. I mean, a lot of the main components will be the same, but I think a lot of different things will, you know, definitely change. So I'm glad, you know, I want to be part of it. I want to follow, you know, we had a great commissioner before me that sat on the MPO for a long period of time. And we've gotten a lot of good things in Sunrise, streetscapes and complete streets. And, you know, we were a pilot program for a lot of different things. We will continue to want to do things like that. And we'll support, you know, other, you know, neighborhoods that do that. I just want to point out, I can remember, I don't know exactly when it was, but Mr. Coletta had just got elected to the Davie City Commission. And probably one of the biggest votes that he had to make was about a development that wanted to come into his city and build a big mall that was in between Weston and Davie. And so I'm saying there's a lot of things that people support, and there's a lot of things for reasons that we vote against, but in turn, we're making the best decision that we think we should be making for not just our community, but connecting, as we heard from some of the other presentations, connecting one city to the next. You know, you don't want to build a road to nowhere. You don't want to build a bike path to nowhere. You want to have all these cities to be connected. So, and I just want to point out before I mentioned about Amazon, you know, thinking about coming to the city and continuing the Greenway, which was part of something that we're asking them to do. They also want to connect a bike path from Commercial Boulevard to Oakland Park Boulevard on both sides, east and west sides of the street, that could also connect to Tamarack and connect to the Greenway. Perfect. So, I mean, these are different things that we look at, but, you know, we don't want to just end it in our city. We want to continue it to the next. So I'm a good team player. Whatever it is that we need to help and support each other to make this county the best it is, you know, I'm there for everybody. And, you know, I can't wait till we meet in person, because to tell you the truth, I never emailed or never texted once in my life, and doing these Zooms to me is difficult. And I'm 53, so hurry up and get back in person. Thank you.
We're trying.
Thank you. And I do see board member Osorio, your hand is raised.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo board member Scudo's, apologize, I'm not good with names, comments in regards to work from home. And I am a firm believer, as a realtor, I see the trend of working from home staying with us. I think this pandemic has basically given that push. I know that Fortune 500 companies have already been exploring working from home options. And I think this was just, again, that push to get people there. And I also see it in my own home. My wife works for the largest insurer in Florida, and they're based out of Fort Lauderdale. And before Corona, they actually had multiple campuses, and they were shuttling and busing people from campus to campus. So you can imagine the cost savings that they're experiencing. And they've also seen work productivity go up. They have no plans of going back anytime soon. So it's certainly something that we just need to be cognizant of as we move forward.
Great, thanks. Those are great finalized comments there. Rebecca, if I can get you to go ahead and stop the recording.